destination.
As principal representatives abroad, you must therefore intensify efforts to leverage on available opportunities as well as your goodwill to help deliver prosperity to the millions of Nigerian citizens at home and the country you are posted. Your comportment, courage, conduct, and ability to multitask must be exemplary. Humility and firmness are attributes that can earn you and your country respect and recognition. These attributes must remain with every one of you in the fulfillment of your duties.
The President enumerated 9 priority areas, including building a thriving and sustainable economy, fighting corruption, enhancing social inclusion and poverty reduction, attaining energy sufficiency in power and petroleum products, improving security, and expanding access to quality education, healthcare, and productivity of Nigerians as guiding principles for the nation's policy direction and thrust.
I therefore urge all of you to be guided by these identified priority goals, as well as your various station charters, which highlight specific mandates and guidelines on government's expectations. We expect you to fight hard for Nigeria and for Nigerians abroad. You must strive to promote trade, human capacity development, foreign direct investment, and other areas of cooperation with countries at national and multilateral levels to support our national growth and development.
And as national and global resources continue to shrink as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, President Buhari made a case for the global community to commit itself resolutely to concerted actions towards fighting and defeating what he called the common enemy together.
Nigeria's diplomacy must make sufficient contributions to common global challenges on how this health pandemic can be contained and eventually defeated. But we must not forget the traditional challenges of terrorism, violent extremism, climate change, poverty, and other manifestations of insecurity, as well as the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, which have negatively impacted Nigeria and Africa, remain part of our nation's critical challenges.
The President implored the new envoys to pay due attention to these continuing challenges in order to register successes for Nigeria and Nigerians as the country engages the world. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Similarly, Nigeria's principal envoys are also expected to prioritize on more engagement of foreign partners in all diplomatic platforms to attract huge foreign direct investments. At this time, Nigeria is diversifying the economy and changing the global perception about the country. These are some of the new tasks for Nigeria's ambassadors designate. Correspondent Usman Aliyu reports.
Nigeria, being the most connected diplomatic power in Africa, an international profile which President Buhari has been building since 2015, seeks to put the country at the center of global affairs and as well expand the international reach. And that is why the government policies seek huge infrastructure funds from partner nations to create new capital projects and trading corridors. The tasks and engagement here are another efforts in establishing a robust diplomatic infrastructure and a practical step to bolstering Nigeria's diplomatic influence.
The result of the Buhari doctrine is that Nigeria is on good terms with every country in the world, no exception. So this fact alone will make your jobs as envoys of Mr. President much easier.
It is vital that your undertakings on behalf of the country validate the trust and confidence by your sovereign, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
You are all aware that His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari is deeply committed to strengthen diplomatic ties with other countries.
You must brace yourself for both the honor and the challenges that go with your new positions.
96 ambassadors designate, 8 consuls general, and 5 charge d'affaires are going out for the Nigerian missions. In Abuja, Usman Aliu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged that the federal government will support more massive investments in Lagos State towards boosting its economic potential as one of the world's fastest growing megacities. The president made a pledge in a video goodwill message to the Ehigbeti Lagos Economic Summit. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the report.
The Lagos Economic Summit 8 in the series has as its theme for a greater Lagos, setting the tone for the next decade. President Muhammadu Buhari told participants that his administration recognizes Lagos as central to the economic fortunes of Nigeria and has in the last few years demonstrated commitment to supporting it unleash its full socio-economic potential.
The challenges of Lagos must therefore be very clearly seen as part of the challenges of Nigeria. And the federal government will support Lagos to overcome the challenges and to thrive socially and economically. One of the significant ways in which our support has manifested to Lagos State is the sufficient federal funding that we approved in 2020 in acknowledgement of the state being an epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic.
He said apart from granting approval to the Lagos State government to rebuild the International Airport Road, the Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund is also investing in the reconstruction of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway as well as Apapa Oshodi or Onitshakin Expressway, a flagship project of the government's road infrastructure tax credit scheme. The standard gauge railway linking Lagos to Ibadan, the president said, is also being completed and milestone extension achieved into the port complex in Apapa, while approval has been granted for the upgrade and development of the National Theatre into a world-class creative hub with the enterprising young Lagosians as biggest beneficiaries.
Speaking of young people, we are aware of just how central they are to the Lagos economy and to Nigeria as a whole. In the creative arts, culture, and technology sectors, we are determined to continue to open up opportunities by which they can achieve their dreams and aspirations, as well as thrive in a safe, secure, and increasingly prosperous country. Let me also acknowledge and salute the fact that we have a forward-looking administration in Lagos that is focused on infrastructure and on improving the ease of doing business and the overall quality of life of all Lagosians.
President Buhari enjoined participants to come up with a practical master plan for achieving a Lagos that is not only innovative and productive, but ensures that its economic prosperity leaves no one behind. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
In other news, President Muhammadu Buhari has asked the Senate to confirm Abdulrasheed Bawah as substantive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. In a letter to the President of the Senate, Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan, the President said he was acting in accordance with paragraph 2, subsection 3 of Part 1, Cap E1 of EFCC Act 2004. Bawah, 40, is a trained EFCC investigator with vast experience in the investigation and prosecution of advance fee fraud cases. official corruption, bank fraud, money laundering and other economic crimes. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
The announcement of the receipt of presidential request for the confirmation of Abdulrashid Bawa as substantive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission preceded the day's parliamentary business.
Appointment of Abdulrashid Bawa as chairman, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The curricula vitae of the nominee is attached herewith.
For the past 6 years, the anti-corruption outfit has been without a substantive chairman following the rejection of Ibrahim Magu by the 8th Senate in 2 separate occasions. The Chartered Institute of Forensic Investigative Professionals of Nigeria Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Yahya Abdullahi. The bill to amend the Firearms Act of 2004 to provide for stiffer penalties, sponsored by Senator Ubasani, and the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Amendment Bill, sponsored by Senator Hezekiah Dimka, all passed second reading.
The Principal Act imposed a term of imprisonment not exceeding 5 years or to a fine of 20,000 or both. The amendment is seeking to increase the option of fine from 20,000 to 100,000.
Senator Oluremi Tinubu drew the attention of the Senate on the need for the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control to ensure adequate regulation, importation, production and sale of cosmetics in Nigeria, while the motion by Senator Bio Barakuma Degi Eremiowo called on the federal government to establish cottage industries in all the 774 local government areas in Nigeria.
Mandate the Committee on Health to investigate the procedures in place for certification or quality and safety for cosmetics and propose a way forward for accountability.
And those who fail to go in line with established regulations, the full weight of the law must be brought to bear on them.
Massive rural-urban drifts has led to deplorable working, living conditions and pollution, child labor, and acute food shortages.
5 bills passed first reading. These include a Whistleblowers Protection Bill. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Still in the National Assembly, the Speaker, House of Representatives, has urged the police to ensure speedy and thorough investigation on the recent violence in Shasha area of Oyo State. The National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that this is to enable prosecution and punishment of those who instigated and participated in the mayhem.
The unfortunate killings and destruction of property, the Speaker noted, are manifestations of the danger Nigerians face as a people. He commiserated with all victims, adding that the House will work to avoid a reoccurrence, just as it aligns itself with the initiative of Mr. President of setting up a committee mandated to build the peace. The House, he says, will constitute a group to work with the committee.
Let me reiterate that we have a greater responsibility to keep the peace in our country. And to do that, we must first commit ourselves to the cause of equal justice and fair treatment for all. Only then can we wage peace with resolve, secure in the knowledge that with peace, a more prosperous union is within reach.
The lawmakers during plenary passed a resolution advising opinion leaders to avoid inflammatory or inciting comments as moved by Representative Dachung Bagos, and called on the police to address security breaches in parts of Abia State as moved by House Deputy Chief Whip Nkiruka Onyejocha.
To all the Inspector General of Police to prioritize the security of those government areas and arrest the criminals.
The House also resolved to investigate the utilization of the billions of naira made available to agencies by the federal government as intervention fund from 2015 to 2020, as moved by Representative Henry Wauba. The need for the Independent National Electoral Commission to review upward the number of state constituencies across the country, raised by Representative Moraino Ajibola, got the nod of House members.
Section 91 of the Constitution provides that the House of Assembly of a state shall consist of 3 or 4 times the number of seats the state has in the House of Representatives.
Among bills that passed second reading are a bill to establish National Power Training Institute of Nigeria, sponsored by Representative Wale Raji, and the bill seeking the establishment of Federal University of Education, Pankshin Plateau State, from Representative Yusuf Gagdi. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Sequel to the recent crisis at Shasha community in Ibadan, a delegation of northern governors led by Governor of Kebbi State, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, have paid an on-the-spot assessment to Shasha. Correspondent Ayomiku Ajibola reports that the delegation stood for peace.
The northern governors delegation, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State, Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano, Abubakar Sani of Niger, and Bello Matawale of Zamfara State, alongside Governor Seyi Makinde, visited the community to assess the level of destruction at the scene of clash between two ethnic groups. They appealed to youth of both tribes in the community to eschew violence and embrace peace, especially at this trying period.
We saw the damage and we appreciate what the governor has done so far, and community leaders, youth groups, and security agencies. It's important to know that the streets of Ibadan are calm. There are no people chasing each other, and people are supporting each other to resume normalcy. And we are glad that the governor is rendering assistance. We are also going to support him. In fact, we have given a token to support those who are already displaced.
The delegation later went into consultation with the Seriki Shasha and Bale of Shasha, where they appealed to both sides to stop hostilities and forge a more formidable bond for peaceful coexistence. Earlier, Governor Seyi Makinde held a closed-door meeting with the delegation of the northern governors. In Ibadan, Ayomiku Ajibola, NTA News.
Still to come, prominent Nigerians sue for peace. Details after the break. Do stay.
Mama, me now want send money. Make me now collect for school. Oh, be now one withdraw for your account, but you no carry in card. Hey, written then go use. Na momo then go use. Na momo agents then go use you. So Ronke won't pay light bill. Plus Richard Go TV. Nishi for no go Miss Telemundo. Tamuno say she won't buy data for phone. Waiting then go use. Na momo then go use. Na momo agents then go use you.
Now with your Momo agent, you fit send and receive money, plus to withdraw money for your bank account without card or data. You fit also buy airtime and data or pay any kind bill where you want. Just dial *223# to see the Momo agent when near you. Momo agent, safe, fast, no wahala.
I don't know what else to say, but I'm sick and tired of complaining and speculating.
They keep telling us we are the leaders of tomorrow. Our time will come.
But you know what? Our time is now.
The time is now to drive better governance.
The time is now to get involved. It's youth o'clock. We must take our rightful position.
As for me, a vibrant female amputee, APC have shown me my limitations are only my imaginations and has given me a chance to prove my strength.
So for me and my family,
we are going to register
to join APC.
Today.
Why APC? Because with the signature of the Not Too Young to Run bill into law, APC has proven itself to be the only youth-friendly party.
I am Governor Yabelo of Kogi State, Chairman, Youth, Women and People Living with Disabilities Mobilization and Sensitization Committee of the APC Membership Registration and Revalidation Exercise 2021, and I approve this message.
Following the commencement of the execution of the 2021 Appropriation Act, the Budget Office of the Federation BOF and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission ICPC are organizing a one-day live virtual interactive forum on the theme Transparency and Fiscal Discipline in Implementation of Federal Government of Nigeria Budget. A keynote address will be delivered by the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Dr. Mrs. Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed, and presentations will be made by the Director Director General, Budget Office of the Federation, Dr. Ben Akabweze, and the Chairman, ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owasaoye, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Date, Wednesday, 17th February 2021. Time, 9 a.m. prompt. Venue, Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Auditorium, Headquarters. Virtual login details have been distributed to participants. Announcer, Organizing Committee.
This is the Wilson family last week. This is the Wilson family this week. What's changed? What? The Wilson family got maximum entertainment for less, and now they're closer than ever. Your family can be too.
How does this work?
With world-class international channels that put the quality back in your quality time. That's what I'm talking about. GoTV Max will bring you and your family closer in no time. So upgrade to GoTV Max for only 2,999 naira today. Make you enjoy. GoTV. Love it.
The Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, FMBN, deeply commiserate with the family, government and people of Lagos State and the entire nation over the passing away of Alhaji Lateef Jakonde. While as the Minister of Works and Housing, the FMBN benefited profoundly from his oversight, culminating into numerous reforms in the bank. We pray that Allah grant his soul eternal rest and the family, relations and friends the fortitude to bear this huge loss. Signed, Management.
After sharing the spoils in their last meeting, Southampton will be looking to secure all 3 points when they welcome the Blues to St. Mary's. This Saturday, it's Southampton versus Chelsea on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Babai Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up in association with Gold.com.
Thank you for staying. All those using their resources and influence to fan the embers of disunity and destabilization in the country will be fished out and appropriately dealt with before the tenure of the present administration runs out. President Muhammadu Buhari, who gave this assurance while granting audience to the Borno and Yobe States Elders Forum, described recent happenings in Nigeria's southwest and other parts of the country as unfortunate and condemnable. State House correspondent Tudamu Sambu has the details.
Those who feel that they don't need Nigeria will succeed over their intentions and their actions. We need this country. We will continue to work for its stability, and may God continue to help us.
President Muhammadu Buhari told his guests, comprising the governors of Borno and Yobe states, paramount traditional rulers, and leaders of thought from the area, that his administration will not abdicate its responsibility of protecting lives and property, as well as keeping the country united.
Please convey my gratitude to all levels of leadership that are helping us to keep the country together, stabilize the polity, and make sure we have recovered the economy.
He said nothing will be left to chance in dismantling obstacles to national security, unity and prosperity as government continues to address the nation's infrastructure deficit for a sustainable future. The president described as gladdening that the people of the Northeast, especially Borno and Yobe states, have continued to appreciate federal government's efforts at restoring peace and stability, as well as giving them more sense of belonging. He described as pleasing the giant strides recorded by both former Governor Kashim Shettima of Borno State and his successor, Governor Zulum, for the massive infrastructure development in the state. Governor Babagana Zulum, who spoke on behalf of the people, said the delegation was in the State House to give honor to whom honor is due.
He who does not thank people will not thank Almighty Allah. We are here fundamentally to thank you, because Borno and Yobe states, and indeed the entire Northeast sub-region, have witnessed tremendous improvement in terms of security situation during your own tenure.
The people expressed formal appreciation to the president for, amongst others, approving the establishment of a federal polytechnic in Borno State, as well as intervening in critical areas of need in the two states.
They have spoken about infrastructural deficits in Borno and Yobe State, and indeed that of the entire Northeast sub-region. They have also requested from the federal government to ensure sustained military operations in the region.
Governor Zulum used the opportunity to appreciate the president for supporting efforts by the Yobe State Governor Mai Malabuni at repositioning the governing APC as chairman caretaker committee. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Critical stakeholders of northern extraction are strategizing to prevent reprisal and further escalation of the Shasha market killings in Oyo State and other social unrest threatening the existing peace in most parts of the country. This was in a resolution reached at the end of an emergency security meeting between the Northern Governors Forum and the Forum of Northern Elders. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports.
The high-profile meeting attracted chairman of the Northern Governors Forum and Governor of Plateau State, Samuel Bakolalong, and representatives of governors from the 3 geopolitical zones of the region, as well as elders of Northern Extraction, led by Professor Abdullahi Angu. The meeting resolved to take appropriate steps in ensuring that the unfortunate and avoidable killings in Shasha Market in Oyo State and other violent crimes threatening the corporate existence of the country are addressed.
Part of the meeting came up was to find ways of also calming the nerves and also to assure our northern brothers that yes, measures have been taken. We don't want to say we will talk about asking people to go away, but then when you have issues like this, you look at the way forward, very matured way forward, and that was what we discussed. And then also to address some of the issues, the problem that is expected on the side of government, both federal and state governors.
We've urged Northerners to exercise restraint and maturity and responsibility. We are asking Nigerians from the southern part of the country to desist acts that provoke other Nigerians. We believe that every Nigerian owes a duty to be responsible and to recognize the fact that this is one country. We have people all over the place. The last thing we want in the north is for any attack on anybody who is innocent.
The leaders say a delegation of northern governors has met with Governor of Oyo State, Sheyi Makinde, to prevent further breach of peace and bring perpetrators of the heinous crime to justice. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Similarly, concerned about the growing ember of disunity, anarchy and disintegration in the country, especially in the last couple of days, former head of state General Abdulsalami Abubakar has urged state governments and people of vested interest to tone down the rhetorics and take full responsibility of managing divergent voices within their states. The former military leader, who was speaking at a press briefing in Mina over the state of the nation, passionately appealed to all Nigerians to embrace peace. Fatima Usman has more.
Abdulsalami Abubakar, who was re-echoing the voice of the National Peace Committee, said the last thing needed at the moment is ethnic attacks, considering the incessant security challenges bedeviling the country. He said projections foresee harvest as a serious challenge this year in view of the security challenges around the country, hence the need to rally government, make required sacrifices and remain vigilant while standing by one another.
We appeal to the governors, the chief security officers of the various states, to please seize their swords, tone down their rhetoric, and take full responsibility for managing the divergent voices and frustration within their states.
General Abdulsalami Abubakar, while appreciating the measures being explored by President Muhammadu Buhari to lower the tension, challenged the security chiefs and the Inspector General of Police to step up their efforts.
We appeal to the new service chiefs and IG to rise to the urgent demands of the moment by rallying their troops and designing the best strategy for ending this tragic war that has continued to consume and destroy the foundation of our dear country.
The elder statesman then implored the traditional institutions, religious leaders, non-governmental organizations, and development partners to mobilize and advocate peace and harmony. In Mina, Fatima Usman, NTA News.
And just in, 6 governors from the southwest and northern parts of the country have appealed to the federal government to map out strategies to address permanently cases of ethnic conflict in the country. This was the outcome of a security meeting by the Ogun State government held in Abuja. Lekon Agbonde reports.
Meeting, which was at the instance of the Ogun State government following cases of farmers and others conflict in 2 Yewa communities, Ogun West Senatorial District, where lives were lost and property destroyed, dwelt extensively on the need to initiate ways to address the issue for peaceful coexistence among Nigerians not minding their tribes.
There's need for collective action between all of us, whether as native farmers, cattle owners, herders, local community leaders, security agencies, to rid Abia State of these criminals.
We must learn from what has happened in other states. That's why we are trying to prevent criminality in our forests.
There must be a means of either registering the cattle that are coming into Nigeria or preventing the movement of cattle.
Farmers, others, and community leaders, especially from the affected areas, agreed that Fulani others in their communities who had been living with them for many years are peace-loving and blamed foreign cattle rustlers for the crisis.
They have kidnapped somebody yesterday. It is these Fulani people that we have been living together that are working with us, with my people, and with policemen in order to look for that person.
I want to appeal to our fellow herders to shield whatever sword.
Don't look them as criminals. They also suffer.
Governor Dapo Abiodun, while commiserating with families of those who lost their lives, said the state government will support victims who lost their property during the clash. In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbonde, NTA.
In the meantime, a media-based group, Vision Center for Communication and Development Advocacy, has cautioned the media not to set the country on fire by feeding the public with sensational and unverified reports on inter-ethnic clashes. A statement by the acting chairman, Benga Onaiga, the group advised citizen journalists and bloggers to display a high sense of professionalism and patriotism at this point in the history of Nigeria by exercising restraint in their reportage of conflict-sensitive events. The group expressed grave concern over reports of inter-ethnic clashes across the country and warned that it could lead to a civil war if not checked immediately. It therefore called on the federal government to urgently have a pan-Nigerian conference to check the current spate of inter-ethnic crisis in some parts of the country and prefer lasting solutions. Away from security matters, as Nigeria's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala becomes the first woman and first African to lead the Geneva-based global trade governing body, World Trade Organization, congratulatory messages have been pouring in. Abubakar Usman Akwanga compiled the messages.
The Nigerian Governors Forum says the new leadership of the World Trade Organization will usher in a new era of stability and economic prosperity in the global space. The forum urged Okonjo-Iweala to use her wealth of experience in addressing the economic challenges occasioned by COVID-19, especially for African countries. Similarly, the All Progressives Congress APC expressed confidence in the capacity of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala to reposition the World Trade Organization and called on stakeholders to give her necessary support to succeed. In the same vein, the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists (NAWOJ) has described the confirmation of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as a thing of pride to women in Africa. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture (NASIMA) has commended the action of the WTO Council in reaffirming the confidence of the global community in the capacity of Okonjo-Iweala. In a statement to rejoice with the new Director General of World Trade Organization, Professor Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the Christian Association of Nigeria describes her victory as a major breakthrough for Nigeria and a call for more service to global community. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
The federal government has named the Idu Railway Complex of the Abuja-Kaduna Standard Gauge Railway line after the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed. A statement by the Director of Press, Ministry of Transportation, Eric Ojikewe, indicates that the Abuja Light Rail Station and all its facilities were also named after the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations in recognition of her immense contribution towards the growth and development of Nigeria and Africa as a whole. The National Reconciliation and Strategy Committee of the People's Democratic Party has assured party faithful of the commitment of ex-President Goodluck Jonathan to avail the PDP his experience, time and resources to return it to power, particularly at the centre. Chairman of the committee and immediate past president of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, gave the assurance after the committee's engagement with the former president in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf reports.
It was a closed-door meeting that lasted for about 1.5 hours at the Abuja residence of former President Goodluck Jonathan. The committee's chairman, Dr. Bukola Saraki, after the meeting disclosed that the former president is bent on seeing the PDP bounce back to national reckoning.
We are here to talk about the party. We talk about what role we can all play in reconciliation of different parts of the party, what role people like former president like himself can play. And he left us feeling very happy that, yes, he wants to play that role in PDP and in uniting the party and helping us, this committee, to move forward.
The Saraki-led National Reconciliation and Strategy Committee was inaugurated a few months after the PDP lost the 2019 presidential election to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, with a dual mandate of reconciling aggrieved members who left the party's fold for one reason or the other, as well as wooing new members into the party ahead of the next general election cycle. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says his attention has been drawn to the statement credited to one Yakini Nabena, who was described as the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC, on the ongoing APC membership registration in Kwara State. Nabena, Lai Mohammed said, must have been speaking for himself. The APC National Caretaker Committee, as presently constituted, has no position like that of Deputy National Publicity Secretary. As part of the resolutions from its last meeting in Abuja on December 8, 2020, the APC NEC approved the immediate dissolution of the party organs at polling units, wards, local governments, states and zonal levels, as well as the non-national working committee component of the NEC, and the immediate reconstitution and composition of the dissolved ESCOs to serve in their respective offices in a caretaker committee capacity, but excluding the non-national working committee members of NEC as it stands. Therefore, anyone claiming to be the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the APC is an imposter. Hence, he will not dignify such a pretender with a response, the minister added. Now time to join Dotun in Lagos for more stories. Dotun, it's over to you.
In furtherance of its efforts to rid the metropolis of unapproved structures that alter the master plan of the state, the Lagos State Building Control Agency has pulled down structures erected without permit in Ilupeju area of Lagos State. Musa Toliat has details.
Lack of approval to commence construction and defiance to conform with building regulations resulted in the removal of this building located at Olotunda Street in Ilupeju.
Defiance in violation of building regulations code in Lagos State will face no other sanction than this. Now, this is actually a pointer by the Lagos Building Control Agency to all those who would be without regulations that such fate will actually befall them.
Officials of the Lagos State Building Control Agency say they need to create a deterrent and ensure that buildings in Lagos State are designed, constructed, and maintained to higher standards of safety, necessitated the enforcement.
You don't need to build on top of the drainage. You don't have to do something that is illegal and expect that the government will legalize it for you.
This is to send a signal to the developers and the owners that you just have to get your permit. You just have to get your approval.
The owner of this building under construction had a close shave because only the fence is constructed on the drainage and was subsequently pulled down.
And at the point they mark you, you are almost due for demolition.
In Lagos, Musa Tolial, NTA News.
Modern equipment and strategic approaches remain critical components in prompt response to emergency situations. This explains the reason for the procurement of a new firefighting equipment by the Federal Fire Service. Adeola Komiakere reports that the Controller General, Liman Ibrahim, on a working visit to Lagos, also flagged off a 2 weeks training for personnel.
Fire disasters have become common and in most cases avoidable occurrences that sometimes claim lives and property of victims. For instance, the Ido fire incident that gutted warehouses recently in Lagos is one of the many incidences. Acquisition of this hydraulic platform and area firefighting truck by the Federal Fire Service therefore became necessary considering the complexity of fire disasters and the need to respond real time. The equipment, according to the Controller General of the Federal Fire Service, is capable of fighting fire in high-rise buildings as well as enhanced rescue operations.
We can use it up to 18th floor of any building. And this vehicle is going to be stationed here in Lagos by the grace of God after completion of the training by our personnel and the commissioning. So for now, it is only this one that is functional in our operation fleet.
This administration, in fact, has been very, very, very determined in pursuit of equipment to support our infrastructure development. And if anything else, we must commend them for that.
The 54 meters hydraulic platform is said to be the tallest in the country, and training of firefighting personnel for its operation has been flagged off by the Controller General of the Federal Fire Service. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakere, NTA News.
And that's it from here. Let's now take a break. Network News continues shortly.
Of the best supporters in the world. Glow, cause we love it.
It is morning, a new beginning. As you prepare everyone for the day ahead, just anything is not enough. Only you make breakfast special, creamy, tasty, with vitamins and nutrients we need for a delightful, healthy start.
So start your day right with Hollandia Evap.
Right nutrients for a healthy breakfast.
John, you can use our toilet now.
Ew! My mommy said I should always use a toilet that is cleaned with Hypo toilet cleaner. James will bite my bum bum.
John, what's the problem? Use Hypo Toilet Cleaner.
Introducing the new and affordable Hypo Toilet Cleaner. Kills germs and deodorizes your toilet.
After sharing the spoils in their last meeting, Southampton will be looking to secure all 3 points when they welcome the Blues to St. Mary's. This Saturday, it's Southampton versus Chelsea on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Papai Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up in association with Gold.com.
Welcome back. Now time to talk business, and I've got Benny Adams here. Benny, as a man, how do you feel having Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as the DG of the WTO?
I actually feel great. It's a great feeling. We are being supportive of women. Remember, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck that twists the head. Well, welcome to the business side. Conversations are ongoing as to how Nigeria can leverage on the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement platform to improve trade. This is coming at a time that the global community is looking to hit trade reset button with the emergence of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as World Trade Organization's Director General.
We have to walk through to develop our national capacity. When we develop our national capacity, we can trade more. We have a platform now, the African Continental Free Trade. That is a platform. That's a huge market. How are we engaging? What would we trade? Will we just be a market for others? Or are we also going to be an exporter within this?
Markets NSE ASI dips by 0.19% amid positive market breadth, leading to 40.47 billion naira loss this Tuesday after a day's positive break. Market closed at 40,494.35 basis points as against 0.33% appreciation recorded previously. Market breadth closed positive with Lena Africa and 21 others gain, just as 20 others, led by corn oil, lost at the end of today's session. Market turnover closed positive as volume moved up by 72.82% as against 47.87% downtick recorded in the previous session. Guarantee, FBNH, and Dangote Sugar were the most active to boost market turnover. Guarantee and Seplat topped market value list at the end of today's session. That is business news. Yeri, it's over to you.
Thank you, Benny. And after the news, we'll talk more about the head and neck theory.
Sure.
All right, Gombe State now has compendium that would guide policy implementers towards sustainable development of the state. Correspondent Emmanuel Akila reports that the 10-year development document was unveiled in Gombe with development experts from within the country and the international community in attendance.
Our roadmap to 2030.
For the first time, Gombe State has come up with a long-term development plan with a vision and mission of socio-economic transformation consistent with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals beginning from 2021 to 2030.
Considering our comparative advantage in agriculture, commerce and trade, our tremendous human and natural resources, and our strategic position at the center of the Northeast sub-region, I have the conviction that our vision is both realistic and achievable.
Home and international development experts appreciate the focus of the state government in thinking of a plan that would meet the immediate needs of the people while building investors' confidence.
This plan is important for us to invest in a city, Gombe, in all the local government headquarters that become also cities, so that the people of Nigeria all want to come to Gombe, not Abuja or Lagos or the places that we're used to. They want to come here.
Developing the policy or the plan is one thing, while implementation is another thing. So the main challenge now on our table is to come together as stakeholders and ensure that we go beyond the development and ensure that it is implemented successfully.
Contributions and comments on the 10-year development plan come from participants, including those who attended virtually. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
Contractors handling the abandoned university hostels across the Niger Delta region have been ordered to return to site following an inspection tour by the Chief Executive Officer of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Akwa Effiong, and his directors. Osinachi Abraham reports that the region's specialist hospital that was abandoned for years is part of the project to be completed soon.
The
abandoned Niger Delta Regional Specialist Hospital was the first port of call on his inspection tour. The hospital, which is located at Mbak local government area of Akwa Ibom State, is a 3-in-1 complex that, when completed, will house orthopedic, cardiovascular, children and maternity units.
This project will benefit the community, will benefit society, will benefit the university community also, and the entire region. So there was a purpose for setting up this, and we want to achieve that. Bring up this file. Let the director of project monitoring, if he's not here, working with the consultant and the state director, bring up every payment that is due to the contractor with respect to this project, so that we can pay them and they should be back on site.
Although the contractors put the completion status of the hostels at 26%, the interim administrator assured them that efforts are being made to review all obstacles and take measures to ensure that the project is completed speedily and put to use. Here in Port Harcourt, the House of Representatives Committee on NDDC inspected the permanent headquarters complex, which is due for inauguration on the 25th of February.
I will want to see a commission that will commission legacy projects. I want to see a commission whereby the needs of the people will be met. I want to see a commission with a clear-cut short-term, mid-term and long-term project plans.
The committee also expressed concern on the awards of contracts, urging the interim administrator to engage only contractors with capacity to deliver. In Port Harcourt, Osinachi Abraham, NTA News.
Time for a quick break. This day.
After sharing the spoils in their last meeting, Southampton will be looking to secure all 3 points when they welcome the Blues to St. Mary's. This Saturday, it's Southampton versus Chelsea on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Babai Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up, in association with Go.com.
President Muhammadu Buhari has sent a powerful delegation to Jigawa State to condole the Emir of Hadejia and Chairman Jigawa State Council of Chiefs, Alhaji Adamu Abubakar Maje, over the death of his mother, Hajia Khadijatu Maje. Mansour Aliyu Hassan has details.
The presidential delegation, led by the Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu, also comprises Minister of State Works and Housing Abubakar Ali and the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity Garba Shehu. Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu said President Muhammadu Buhari is deeply touched by the demise of the Emir's mother. This, according to him, Hajia Khadija has impacted positively towards nurturing and inculcating moral values on many Nigerians.
Of course, the President expressed deep sadness and regret at the passing away of Hajia Khadija, the late Emir's mother and our mother, and he extended his condolences and prayers. The Almighty Allah will grant her eternal rest.
We are indeed grateful for the President's gesture to the Hadejia Emirate. We don't have anything to offer him other than prayers for Allah's guidance.
The Emir also used the opportunity to call on all Nigerians to continue to support the Buhari administration, particularly on its fight against insurgency bedeviling the country. Prayers were offered for the deceased and for an end to all forms of heinous acts and their perpetrators. The octogenarian Emir's mother died on Saturday after an illness. From Hadejia, Mansour Aliyu Hassan, NTA News.
And that's Network News tonight. Many thanks for watching. Do have a good night.
Social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online, or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
NTA Tuesday Live, analytical, in-depth, educative, and interactive on national issues, accommodating all sides of opinions.
We as a people have understood that we have to fight corruption before it fights us back.
Poverty has a financial index, so it should be fought also with a financial weapon. Give it to the social investments program. It has been a very courageous battle.
Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Join us.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
This is the network service of the NTA.
My dear party members, there comes a time when all good people must not only speak, but rise up and get involved in the task of improving their society. The need has never been greater than now for all Nigerians to actively contribute to the all-important task of nation building by bringing about good leadership and governance. For most citizens, their greatest weapon is their vote. Register now for your party and register when the time comes for elections. Political parties are the main vehicles under our laws through which citizens can participate in the ideals and practices of our democracy. As we have seen happening around the world, good citizens join political parties and use them to bring about the changes they desire. I am therefore endorsing the nationwide membership registration and the revalidation exercise embarked upon by our party, the All Progressive Congress. I call on patriotic Nigerians to come out during the exercise, which starts on the 26th of January, and avail themselves of the opportunity to join the APC. Thank you, and may God bless our country.
The broadcast media ecosystem is dynamic and requires continuous training for practitioners to perform optimally. NTA TV College Jos invites relevant officers to the following specially packaged training programs. Intermediate online news reporting skills. Date 1st March to 12th March 2021. 2 weeks. Studio lighting indoor and outdoor. Date 1st March to 5th March 2021. 1 week. Modern trends in broadcast media marketing. Date 15th March to 9th April 2021. 4 weeks. Understanding public service rules and mastering the art of standard minute writing, reports, memoranda, and briefs. Date 15th February to 12th March 2021. 4 weeks. The course fee for the 4-week courses is 100,000 naira per participant. The fee for the 2-week course is 80,000 naira, while the course fee for the 1-week course is 40,000 naira only. Accommodation inclusive. Venue for all the courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos. Training you to be the best you want to be.
The second wave of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic is upon us.
To safeguard lives of our people, government has signed the health protection regulations, which makes wearing a face mask mandatory in public places.
Wear a mask. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Wash your hands regularly with soap and clean water. And use hand sanitizer.
COVID-19 is real. Do not be infected. Do not spread it. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
After sharing the spoils in their last meeting, Southampton will be looking to secure all 3 points when they welcome the Blues to St. Mary's. This Saturday, it's Southampton versus Chelsea on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Babai Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up in association with Gold.com.
Good to have you join us for another edition of Dateline 360. I am Omotola Omojola. What is 20,000 naira worth to you? I am very sure different answers will come in if a means is provided for feedback. While it may appear as a token to some, to the wise and business-minded, 20,000 naira represents capital at hand that could contribute to the growth of a business. Yet someone will ask, what business? Today on the program, we take a cursory look at how the federal government's 20,000 naira cash grant is changing the livelihood of rural women in the country. Stay with us. Closing the gap between the rich and the poor in a country like Nigeria can be challenging, especially with the impact of COVID-19 on small businesses. If consistency is applied to the different social interventions of the federal government, however, the nation may arrive at shore faster than imagined. Ruth Agwele opens this edition with a background to the initiative. She reports that 5,000 women in the FCT will benefit from the social intervention program.
Women are said to be pillars of the family, and when it comes to sustaining small businesses like this, they are solid. Now, to empower rural women, the federal government launched the Rural Women Cash Grant across the country, and the Federal Capital Territory was not left out.
Hadiza Mohammed is 70 years old. She has come all the way from Kwale local government area in the Federal Capital Territory to partake in the federal government's cash grant to be disbursed to rural women. She tells me how crucial this grant will impact her life positively, as it will help her grow her petty trade and take good care of her blind husband. A symbolic moment for these beneficiaries. 5,000 women are drawn from the 6 area councils in the FCT. A one-off cash grant of 20,000 naira each to some of the poorest and most vulnerable women in the territory. A program designed to provide succor towards eliminating extreme poverty in the country is being flagged off by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development.
I have personally witnessed the life-changing experiences of people who lived below the poverty line and those who are vulnerable to shocks. Over 12 million vulnerable households have benefited from the NCIP interventions in the last 5 years. These programs have been structured to respond to peculiarities of different parts of the country, to ensure the right beneficiaries are targeted, and to enhance impact on target beneficiaries. In view of this, President Muhammad Buhari has graciously approved the expansion of the National Social Investment Programs to touch more lives and lift more Nigerians above the poverty breadline.
You will agree with me that the launch of this program is a bold statement by the government. It is reiterating the readiness of this administration to do all that is necessary to join the community of nations to fight the global economic downturn.
The beneficiaries expressed their gratitudes.
And this grant they have given us today, I so much appreciate.
I'll use it for my business. I'll add it into my business for my food mart.
I sell rice, beans and groundnut oil. I thank the ministry for this gesture. May God reward them.
No doubt 20,000 naira is a big deal for these beneficiaries, and the good news is that majority of them are already into petty trades. But for us, we'll keep our eyes on the price, which is the turnover profits which we expect to yield from this grant. 360 degrees all the way. For Dateline 360, Ruth Aguela.
From Abuja, we go to Lafia, Nasarawa State, where Abigail Bashi reports that small businesses are already experiencing positive impact thanks to the federal government's cash grants.
After the disbursement of the 20,000 naira grant to beneficiaries in the Nasarawa State, Nafisatu Adamu, mother of 5, takes advantage of the opportunity in pure water business. And just like the journey of 1,000 miles, Nafisatu attests that her business is steadily progressing and applauds the initiative, which has helped a lot of women to be self-reliant.
I really appreciate for his effort that make us to achieve our aims for the contribution of this money. So really appreciate for our President Muhammad Buhari. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him to achieve all his aims that he make to achieve.
Findings show that the cash grant has significantly reduced poverty and positively impacts on beneficiaries' income and nutrition on long and short-term basis.
Other beneficiaries like Fatima Abubakar and Murjanatu Musa in petty trading say the initiative has been impactful, noting that small businesses contribute to the economy.
I have been able to support my family through this business, and I thank President Buhari for the initiative.
Before now, I had some challenges, but after benefiting from this grant, has opened other opportunities for me. To members of the community, the initiative is a welcome development that should be sustained in order to lift many out of poverty.
This program is highly commendable and has impacted the livelihood of the beneficiaries and their families.
2,600 women from 5 local government areas in Nasarawa State benefited from the initiative, which is meant to promote the social inclusion agenda of President Buhari's administration. In Lafia, Abigail Bashi for Dateline 360.
If you're still in doubt about what 20,000 naira can do, there goes an answer for you. But then, there's more to come. Aminu Umar interacted with some beneficiaries of the grant in Kano State and reports that women whose businesses were shut down following the COVID-19 lockdown are beginning to recover and on the path of economic independence.
Nigerian women are rated high in the global ranking of micro-business ownership. Kano is blessed with enterprising women who contribute to the rating.
Most of these women that benefited from this grant, if you see their capital, most of them is not up to 10,000, and now they have 20,000.
Dahare is one of such women. She lost her husband 3 years ago. She is now the breadwinner and is taking care of 4 children. She sells beans cake, known as kose in Hausa. Her challenge is the capital. The 20,000 naira grant came to her as a boost, and so also Maria Uba, a divorced woman with 10 children under her care.
I own my capital. I can now support others. If it goes well, I assure you, soon I will own a house and drive a car.
Like Dahare, who is a widow and is taking responsibility of raising 4 children, Aisha is also an orphan. She decided to venture into poultry farming, which is now assisting her to support herself with what she needs to go to school. With the support, Aisha is now increasing the level of poultry farming from the limited number which she started with 5, and now she is able to raise at least 50. With this grant, Aisha's target will be 100 and above.
I want to encourage government to continue in this direction, especially for the fact that it was done fairly. It was given to the right people.
To build the capacity of all 8,000 beneficiaries, Kano State is to organize training on how best to utilize the capital and sustain their businesses.
Because if you give them 20,000 and they don't know how to utilize it, it will be a waste. But as I told you, most of these women were in a business where they usually have some business, one business or the other.
With consistency from the beneficiaries, constant supervision and training, the program would have the desired multiplier effect on the economy. Amin Umar reporting for Dateline 360.
Tales of commendation comes from Taraba State, where Madeline Matthew Bello says beneficiaries of the grant say the initiative has positively touched their lives.
The cash grant given to rural women December last year is one of the numerous federal government social investment programs to cushion the effect of COVID-19 pandemic and enhance the livelihood of rural women across the country, especially the vulnerable and less privileged members of the society. Some of the beneficiaries of the federal government intervention in Taraba State appreciated the gesture, adding that they used the money in establishing small-scale businesses which uplifted their economic status and enhanced their livelihood.
We thank the federal government for the grant, as it has helped us in establishing businesses that is assisting us and our families through paying our children's school fees and feeding.
We are grateful. We thank the government. May God bless them. Stakeholders commended the federal government initiative, which according to them has significantly reduced poverty and idleness among rural women in Taraba State, and pleaded for the sustenance of the program. Taraba State Commissioner of Women Affairs and Child Development said 250 rural women benefited from the cash grant, adding that the women have all invested the 20,000 naira in businesses that will yield interest.
Let this business bring deliverance to their home. Let it be able to pay their children's school fees. Let this business give them self-reliance or self-confidence in the society, that they can no longer be reducing voice, give me, please help me, please do that. If they are busy doing their things by themselves, then we will know the importance of the money.
According to the commissioner, Taraba State government has so far trained over 4,000 youths and women in entrepreneurship to complement federal government efforts in reducing poverty and idleness in the country. Taraba State, with greater percentage of its population residing in rural areas, stand a better chance of benefiting from the program. For 360, Madeline Matthew Bello.
Now, apart from supporting the businesses of the beneficiaries who are rural women for self-sustainability, one of the primary objectives of the one-off cash grant by the federal government is to help revive commercial activities in the states post-COVID-19. Yemi Dalimo finds out how this grant is helping rural women in Ogun State, as well as how it has helped the economic growth of the state.
Mufuli Oladeinde, a 56-year-old woman and petty trader, sells fried meat at Agoku area of Abeokuta. For many years, she has been in this business with no help forthcoming to expand the business. Then she was lucky to receive one-off cash grant of 20,000 naira under the federal government cash grants to rural women. Mufuli Oladeinde, who was grateful to the federal government for this unique support, spent the money for the expansion of her business, which she admitted has increased her profits.
Something interesting about the beneficiaries of the grant in Ogun State is the genuine determination expressed and put into action. Within a week of receiving the grant, they are already maximizing the opportunity to expand their means of livelihood. An example of this, Madam Mufuli Oladeinde.
I thank the federal government for this initiative to support our business. Now, with the 20,000 naira I receive, I include selling drinks to my business.
One of the coordinators of the program in Ogun State, Francis Ademoshun, appreciated the federal government for introducing such a relief program in taking rural women out of poverty.
When you sum up the total amount of money that came in within that period, it's over 1 billion at 20,000 to our people. And I want to believe that that money that is revolving within the state is going to assist the rural women, particularly those who do not even have who do not have much to use as their base.
The grant of 20,000 naira, which targets the poorest and most vulnerable women in the society, according to an economist, Jare Oyeshola, is not insignificant in expanding the capital base of individuals if well managed.
But business is not really about money. So 20,000 can do something in the life of a business. For example, there are quite a number of products that are available for free in rural area, and using 20,000 to transport them from that rural area to where it's needed in the urban centers could yield a lot of money.
The cash grant of 20,000 naira each to beneficiaries who are rural women, among other social protection programs by the federal government, is aimed at boosting capacity and investment in human capital of the poor and vulnerable households.
For Dateline 360, Yemi Dalimo.
From Ogun State, we go to Edo State. Though the initiative is yet to birth in the state, Uduakobong Achibong sampled opinions to know what the expectations are and what promises it holds for the businesses of rural women when flagged off.
The 20,000 Naira special grant under the supervision of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Inclusion is part of President Buhari's social inclusion and poverty reduction agenda. According to records, the initiative has been launched in over 15 states, while it is yet to be launched in Edo State, as gathered from government sources. Some members of the target group expressed optimism of an improved socioeconomic life if they should have access to such grant.
Go help us, we the traders. Buy many things, as many as I want. Go village, go shatter gariko.
That 20,000. So me can still they come out from inside now. People will be saying know how to make business. If you don't do business now, say you rely for man a low, it's not good.
The market not they improve before. If I see money, Jonah, you can't improve again. More and more.
I used to go to village market and buy plantain, all those fruits. But then I'll buy it many, buy a quantity. So whatever anybody wants, I'll have it. So I'll be getting different things that from village market, I will get different things that I will sell to make the money.
Most people that are selling in the market, some, their husband doesn't have work. They are the one feeding their family.
For some people, the initiative by the federal government is laudable and want it to be devoid of politics.
We thank God for government, for the support for the women and our mothers.
If you are looking at the less vulnerable in the society, and you want to give that money to them, they should devise a means to actually identify such people.
One striking thing about women in communities who are struggling to make ends meet is their desire to be economically stable for greater productivity. And for them, any initiative of the federal government to make this their desire come to fruition is worthwhile. In Benin, Udrakobong Achibong, NTA News.
Life-changing is how beneficiaries of government social interventions in Imo State describe the gestures. Beatrice Ayam followed some of them who have only good stories to tell. She also says they are full of gratitude.
The cash grant to rural women is part of the federal government's poverty eradication program targeted at indigent households in Nigeria.
Right here is a large farmland belonging to Kelechi Emeka, a widow with 4 children, and the beneficiary of the program.
Before,
I don't have any portion to farm, but when they gave us the areas, I redeemed this land belonging to my father-in-law, who could not redeem it. Before he died, I put the remaining into my business. Now I can farm and feed my children.
Another beneficiary of the pilot copy, Uchechi Kajetan, lives in a mud house with her family. Her earnest desire to own a better shelter is driving her into using the proceeds from her palm oil and fruit business, established with the cash grant, to mold blocks.
When they paid us, I put it in my business, and the proceeds I use it to mold blocks, enable us build house. I thank federal government for choosing me in this program.
Before this program comes up, we find it very difficult to find our daily bread. But today, as I have benefited from this program, I can now feed my children, train them in school.
I thank God for making it possible for them to choose me. I use part of it to buy birds for poultry. I've sold the first and the second set. I also trade in palm oil and firewood. Now we can feed well.
Training and Communication Officer, Imo State Cash Transfer Unit, Owerri, Amaka Obielu, speaks further on the impact of the poverty eradication program.
We have seen a lot of improvement. They've been engaged in a sustainable source of livelihood. They can now at least feed their kids. They can now pay their levies in their various communities, which is part of developing the community.
And the program is helping a lot. It has made our women to ginger themselves very well. None of them again is sleeping. They are working very hard to support their families, to support the village, to support the kindred.
We have reunions so many families who don't want to allow their wife to come out, who try to chase their wives away. But with this, when they came to collect the money and see that it's not possible, they will be forced to go and call their wife.
While being appreciative of the federal government for this gesture, the people are appealing that the program should be institutionalized to enable it to capture more people. In Owerri, Beatrice Anyam for Dateline 360.
That is the program for today. Thanks for being there. Next week is another date, and we promise you only good moments. My name is Omotola Omojola. See you then.
Do you not know that our enemies have no face? They are indigents of no state. They come from no place. And if this boat capsizes, every one of us will go under. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer. Do not say, I am the Iroko when the forest is burning. Do not say, I am the Obeche when the forest is burning. Our differences will not stop us from perishing together. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer.
Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
Peace is key to the development of nations, without which nothing can really be done, no matter where you are in Nigeria. February 11th will remain in our minds. Now a little conflict between Hausa community and the Yoruba native community in Shasha market, Ibadan, Oyo State, ignited a spark and escalated with threatened capacity to consume the whole nation. The Shasha incident is a familiar scenario in what happened across the country. Herdsmen, farmers' clashes, kidnappings, robbery, banditry, social vices, and of course, utterances and posts on social media have fueled the crisis. These have become a contending Nigeria. Several opinions on ways out of the situation, including appeals to politicians to exhibit healthy leadership, watertight security, good governance in schools to curb illiteracy amidst myriad of other suggestions. But the fact still remains that peace must be sought on all fronts by all Nigerians, irrespective of status, class, to achieve and aspiring for. It is of utmost importance our governors meet constantly in search of peaceful coexistence so that every right-thinking Nigerian should tag behind their efforts to restore love, unity, and prosperity with peace, and all hands must be on deck as the nation embarks on attitudinal change through inner strength with the conviction that we need each other. Peace is priceless, and we all know that way. Tonight, our national integration, our panel of guests will an understanding of what might be responsible for the agitations occasioned by ethnic violence arising from such misunderstanding, and how best to resolve the situation through dialogue. What role should the media as well as leaders at all levels play to douse the tension? How do you mitigate or avert such occurrence in future? But first, let's take a backgrounder report on peace and national integration.
Confronted by Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, banditry, kidnapping and cattle rustling in the northwest, IPOB in the southeast, and farmers-herders clashes in the north-central and other zones of the country, Nigeria's security challenges are compounded by many factors, one of which is the growing population as well as the complex nature of the country's threats, fueled by misinformation and distortion. 2020 and 2019, Nigeria's security climate was marred by violence erupting from reprisal attacks attributed to clashes between herders and farming communities, notably in Kaduna State. Widespread kidnapping, banditry, cattle rustling, and agitation by IPOB and other groups. Violence arising from the aftermath of the EndSARS protests. More recently, the violence which erupted at a market in Ibadan highlights the damaging consequences of misinformation and widespread fake news on social media, an aspect highlighted by media personality Baduriya Ahmed, who in her letter to the media warned against ethnic profiling, fake news and hate speech, among others. With these threats and more, the National Security Advisor convened a meeting with the Northwest Governors Forum, heads of security, and service chiefs, who are expected to give the nation a new direction in tackling the current threats. Meeting, the need for all Nigerians to unite against insecurity was highlighted by the chairman of the forum, Governor Simon Lalong, who said peace remains the universal language regardless of religious background. To this end, it is expected that the security chiefs and heads of security agencies will continue to employ peaceful means in tackling the situation. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
And national. Our phone lines will be opened in the course of the program. Please, if we're true to you, please turn down the volume of the television set in making your inputs and go straight to the point. Also tonight, you can be part of the conversation through our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA. In the course of the program too, we shall be doing a couple of reports. Today we are going to 3 locations: Ibadan, Jos, and Onitsha. Well, I have a team of guests spread across the country, right here in Abuja, Ibadan, and in Lagos, also via Zoom. Tonight I have joining us General IBM Haruna, former Minister of Information and Culture. Good to have you on the program tonight. Tonight we have the President, Nigeria Union of Journalists, NUJ, Chris Isegozo. Good to see you on the program. Also tonight, May Nasara Kogo Umaru, International Relations Expert.
It's always me. It's always me. It's always me. It's always me. It's always me.
Professor of joining us on the program in the Network Center. Welcome to the program. Via Zoom in Ibadan at Debayo Shitu. Good to see you on the program.
My pleasure, my very big pleasure to be with you on this very important.
On the program today, from Lagos, we have Issa Mustafa, President, Nigerian Guild of... Welcome to the live. Rather rough start there. The audio appears to be challenging. Well, so begin with you, General Haruna. If we say towards an enduring peace, what are we looking at?
Well, we are looking at a state of happiness, I would say, at life, absence of victimization, violence, each other, and keeping good faith with each and everyone, having hope, and being acceptably satisfied with the state of being for now, where there is a state of mind that is lucid and can look into the crystal ball, I would say, and plan for the future. There's no peace, you cannot together. Any meaningful activity that that arises from your heart and gives you and everyone some kind of joy. I think state of peace is, and I get, if a state of peace as we imagine in heaven, you will be in a state of wantlessness, satisfaction, and glory is to God the Creator, and you submit yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's go to the president of NUJ. Chris, well, the media is critical here, and I remember vividly one of the United States ambassador to Nigeria, Stuart Siminston, has talked about the fact that Nigeria will do a lot better in terms of attaining enduring peace if only we tap into the structure of the United States. But Nigeria is multi-ethnic, multi-religious, That can be our biggest strength if we use it well. How do you upturn this?
Well, once again, thanks a lot for having me. Even though substantial your question, I didn't get it because of the poor audio reception. But all the same, I want to join the general in appreciating his views about what peace should look like. Well, when you talk about peace, you are talking about a state of law and order, a system where law and order prevails, a system where there is justice, there is fairness, there is equity, and there is equitable distribution of common patrimony. A system where the people live in line with prevailing law and order, there is rule of law, and things are done properly. People appreciate government, government appreciates the people. Then in such scenario, you will be talking about peace. Of course, there can hardly be any peace that is perfect. But when you appreciably create an environment that is as serene as I have depicted, then you are talking about a peaceful environment. Well, going to the other part of your question, how can we take advantage of the plethora of ethnic nationalities? Let us benefit from it. Of course we can. By the time we create a conducive environment where citizens can live in and be proud that they are in a system that is working, then we can actually take advantage of our system. You know, it will benefit us. But when we continue to deliberately create a state of fear in the system, we can hardly achieve our desires. So it's important that we know what the people want. We look at their pulse, feel their pulse from time to time. That's why I like what the Security Advisor to Mr. President and the newly appointed service chiefs have introduced to go around the country across the 6 geopolitical zones to feel the pulse of the people in view of the scenario that we are facing at the moment. It's a very good one. They've already started from the northwest. By the time they traverse the 6 geopolitical zones and they get the views, the opinions of people from across the country, I want to believe by the time they return and also critically look at what they have been able to get across the country, implement same, then we would have started the process of building peace, harmony, social cohesion in the system.
The President just said, peace in itself has a lot of components. In building it, we look at it from 2 perspectives. We have what termed negative peace, we have what is termed positive peace. In building the 2, there's always attrition, but all managing towards one direction. How do you unfold this? Well, if you can hear me, Nasara, what I mean is take reference from what the NUJ President just building. You have
have to go back and see the historical, sociological, and demographic records of the country. Nigeria has witnessed the hills and the valleys when you come to the question of peace, because peace is the hambringer of the development and the progression of any society. This year we are celebrating 60 years of Nigeria's independence. That number 60 is very significant in the history of Nigeria, because from 1960 to 2020 is exactly 60 years. 60 years earlier talks about the January 1st, 1900, when the colonialists came. January 1st, 1900 to October 1st, 1960, 60 years. October 1st to October 2020, another 60 years. Earlier than the coming of the colonialists, we had this period of 1840 to 1900. And that was a time when there was a lot of, what do I call it, missionary activities, as well as exploration of the hinterland of Africa. And 60 years earlier than that time was the time when we witnessed the scramble and partition at the same time simultaneously with the trans-Saharan trade routes. And 60 years much earlier than that was the time when we were witnessing antecedents of inter-territorial wars. Wars between one kingdom and the other, wars between one community and the other. Now, we are witnessing this at this material time simply because Nigerians have resolutely united that they want to progress. All these upheavals we are seeing, crisis, ethnocentric kind of divisions between one community or the other, between one tribe or the other, is rooted upon our inability to understand the constitutional arrangements. The constitutional arrangements of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is one of the best you can find anywhere in the world, starting with Section 21 that talks about the culture. We have a culture in Nigeria, a culture of living in peace and harmony with one another, a culture that talks about the originality of man, the originality of every man having come from Adam and Eve, the originality of every religion having come from Prophet Abraham, the originality of the totality of the Nigerian people having been people that have common heritage, common togetherness, common history, and common belonging. So man is in part is in the efforts of continuous struggle towards attainment of living, that he talks about trying to overshadow or trying to overlap the efforts of one another. Nigeria has witnessed a lot of things if you take from 1960 to date, especially the incidents of 1967 to 1970, where we lost over 3 million citizens, where we spent over 30 months of consistent fight. At the end of it, we ended up more united, more robust, more socially amiable, and we embrace each other as no winner, no vanquished. At the end of it, several other leaders up to the leadership of today contributed in trying to bring about the prevalence of peace on the land. Remarkably speaking, and most outstandingly, I must recognize the efforts of General Gawan. He is still alive. He needs to be appreciated better than we are appreciating him. This is a gallant soldier that has dedicated the entirety of his life and his intellect and gallantry for the unity of Nigeria. There are several other people. One of them is even on the panel today, General IBM Haruna. We must recognize that. You must also take into cognizance some other people, like the great Ikemba. He too embraced peace later on. He was pardoned. He embraced peace. At the end of it, he continued preaching the gospel of peace up to the time God took him away back to him. And at the same time, people like General Murtala, Metamasule, Shehu Shagari, let Zik, let Obafemi Awolo, all these people in their little or bigger responsibilities, they contributed towards having peace for the Nigerian nation. Coming into even those people that are alive, talking about the lives of General T.Y. Juma, General Chief Mbazuluki Amechi is still alive. I think he's one of the few ministers remaining. Talking about people like Emeka Anyaku, talking about even the people like Haruna Meyasin, the Sarkin Sasa, where the unfortunate incident happened. These people have dedicated themselves into seeing peace and unity. And there are, of course, a handful of traditional rulers talking about the Alafin of Oyo, for example, the Oni of Ife, the Sultan of Sokoto. So all of them, the Oni of the Obi of Onitsha, these people have dedicated themselves to the unity and prosperity of the nation, because Nigeria is an indivisible and indissoluble country as per the provisions of sections 1 and 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And at the same time, the government's primary responsibility as far as sections 14 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is trying to bring about peace and security for the citizenry. Peace and security so that we attain the motto of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as per section 15 subsection 1 of the Constitution that talks about unity and faith, peace and progress. And that is the reason why the same section 15 went about under sections 2 and 3, and at the same time section 17 1 and 2 says that it is mandatory, it is necessary on the government.
Perspectives. Let's go to Enugu before we go to Ibadan. Listening to what other guests have said so far, let's build backwards. Are we in tune with dreams of our fathers?
Thank you and good evening once again. I believe the question was how we could understand the differences between our founding fathers and what obtains now. Let me start by saying that peace and unity are two mutually inclusive items. That means one leads to the other. They cannot exist in isolation. And again, let me put it in perspective. It is important for us to understand that peace and unity are sacrosanct when it comes to Nigeria as an indissoluble and indivisible country, because these items are already enshrined in their own coat of arms. So it should be very, very well understood that the founding fathers wanted peace and unity to be in this very entity called Nigeria. And that is why the great Zik of Africa, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe of blessed memory, said that it was not important to him who was going to be the president of Nigeria at independence. But what he was interested in was that Nigeria should be one indivisible country. Then again, let us try to understand that this very item has remained exclusive and inclusive in the factor, because even the present administration under President Muhammad Buhari has done extensively well in trying to unite the country. I remember that in the past there was this avenue that most of the people who are in government should go to their own locations to talk to their youths to prevent the restiveness of the youths. Of course, there is this important thing that we should understand, that the voice of man is the voice of God, voice populi, voice Dei. That is important, that people should be listened to when they cry out. And government has done very well in this regard. Let me also try to itemize things in order of happenings, in the chronology, in the way they take place. Now, remember the NSAS protest which happened some weeks ago and some months ago. And some of these restive youths have remained, on the low ebb of the society, trying to make their mind to be heard and their voices to be heard. And government should also do more, because to live an era unfit is to encourage intellectual immorality, according to Karl Marx. It is important that government should put infrastructure in place, paraphernalia in place in terms of security architecture, to put these youths under the right atmosphere that will make them understand how things are done. I will also want to commend Nigerians. Nigerians are very, very resilient people. I said it on this program on national TV during the independence anniversary, that Nigerians love themselves so much when they meet outside the shores of this country. But this issue of divisiveness always comes to play when we are in this country. But of course, we cannot blame ourselves, because when a father or a mother has many children, it's important that people should try to live, cohesively, and then try to understand each other's differences or one another's differences. Now, again, Nigeria has, remained on this very hot shell for a very long time. But I believe that government has done tremendously well in this regard as well. But again, the change of service chiefs some weeks ago was also very well welcome, because the government knew that this is important to touch the lives of people in this very area, because security and peace are primary efforts of government to make sure that people live harmoniously without any rancor. But of course, let me also try to divorce this very action of peace, because total peace does not mean absence of war. That means if there will be peace, there must be a way of discussing, because that is why you have the courts. You have the ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution. That means people can resolve their disputes peacefully and come back to terms. Of course, the United Nations, which was established in 1945, in the wake of the dissolution of the League of Nations, was established as a peaceful organization. But of course, they have the military arm, which means that you must use that very effort to bring about peace. So I believe that it is important Nigerians should imbibe this peaceful culture to live as one entity, because there's unity in diversity. Like the earlier speakers have said, we have multicultural society, multi-ethnic society, and of course, this should be an advantage to Nigeria and Nigerians as well. So when we imbibe this very culture, we're going to move far beyond the of this country, positive efforts, because of course where there is political equilibrium, there must be good economic development. Where if this political equanimity is eventually upturned or turned over, then eventually we have problems in our hands, and that will result in a quagmirish economy, which means people begin to fend for themselves without having to make necessary inputs. Then of course government has a role. In fact, government is the last arbiter here, which of course we have to assemble all factions who think they are disgruntled or they are in one way or the other have been mismanaged, disadvantaged. Let me put it also in very clear terms that the different ethnic groups, the major ethnic groups, Igbo, Yoruba, and Hausa, have done very well, especially with the Ohanese Igbo, the Fenifere, and the Arewa. These are all unifying factors that Nigeria has already enjoyed over the years. I believe government can start talking with these people, in different capacities, so that they can reach the grassroots and make people to understand that there's unity in diversity. There's nothing that we can gain by going to war. There should be peace, and not war.
But not last, but let's go to Lagos now, where the president of Nigerian Guild of Editors joins us via Zoom. Mustafa, well, you have listened to other person's perspective. Let's get your perspective in the opening of this issue.
I've listened to my fellow panelists. I think they all spoke well. The truth of the matter is that if you look at the motto of Nigeria, the coat of arms, it said unity, peace, and progress. So you cannot separate the four of them. Without unity, there's no way there can be progress, in any nation. But again, how do you achieve that peace? Can you achieve it without hammering on the issue of justice? Is it possible? Can you do that without giving all the sections of the country that sense of justice, that sense of belonging? Does the government listen to the people? I'm happy that just yesterday the federal government started the dialogue with different zones, starting from Northwest. I heard in Kaduna yesterday. Very good move, really, because we constantly talk, dialogue. But after the dialogue, what happens? Does the government take into account what they collate or they hear from the people? It's very basic. Because, you talk to the people now say, this is what we want. You go back to your office, analyze. I think Nigerians don't really want to separate or go their separate ways. But they have the right to complain. But after that complaint, what happens? So the government listen really. It's very key. It's very key. So because I have friends from all over the country. Hausa, Yoruba. My uncle has a house in Soya in Lagos. We have different from different parts of the country. They live together harmoniously. When one of them, the father dies or the mother dies, they gather together, they go to the person's community and be part of the burial. It's not whether it's Igbo, Yoruba, they won't go. No, that is not true. The common Nigerians are united. They want to live together. But sometimes the politicians, want to use this issue of ethnicity, religion, to divide Nigerians. That is where the media comes in. Here, of course, I'm a member. I think we should not give room for these ethnic entrepreneurs or those who hammer on our fault lines. We should not be there for this anymore. If you want to air your view, please, you should not include the issue of ethnicity and religion. To me, ethnicity is not something that we talk about because, number one, there's no democracy in heaven. God does not ask you to choose your ethnic origin. It's not your choice. God makes that choice for you. So why should you, on the basis of that, discriminate against me. If you do that, you are working against God. You know, I didn't choose to call from Edo. Perhaps from there. That is the choice of God for me. That is why I put on my Facebook. I said, please, if you want to send me anything on Facebook or whatever, the social media platforms, please. If you have to do with ethnicity or religion, please don't send it to me. You know, please, there are some people in Nigeria today, what they do is just they look for ways to create more disunity. You see them forwarding all manner of stories, gory pictures, just to create crisis. There are some people in Nigeria who do that. Then how do we checkmate them? But I believe that those who want us to be united are more than those who want us divided. You know, we keep hammering on our fault lines. Every nation has its own fault lines. Of course, Nigeria is, we are multi-ethnic, we are multi-religions. But it's fine. That's the way God wants it to be. But we can also explore and exploit this division and make us a great nation. It's possible. It's very possible. So that's why let me tell you, you know, we are one. That doesn't mean that we do not have that differences. Of course we do. But how do we handle the differences to make Nigeria a better nation? That's what we should hammer about. But the government has a great role to play. You know, please, you know, in your policies, in your utterances, please always give every part of this country that sense of belonging.
Meanwhile, let's go to Ibadan, where former Minister of Communications, Adebayo Ashitu, is joining us via Zoom. Well, you are right at the center where the latest development came up. The Shasha incident is very, very fresh in our memories. But we know a couple of steps have been taken. Governors have been there. They have visited the site. And let's just say, what is the situation like in Oyo State, Ibadan? Please.
That are those which resulted in losses. I've had the privilege of being legal advisor to the Shasha Market Traders Association for more than 15 years. And I know that there had been crisis between the majority house community. On the one side,
I believe maybe the signals, if they put the signal through, we'll get back to Chief Adebayo Ashitu, former Minister of Communications, who joined us via Zoom in Ibadan. Well, losing the signals from Ibadan, let me stay with the NUJ President before coming to General IBM Haruna. Mr. President, now, from what we have heard from the opening segment, the media plays a crucial role here. Most often, it looks as though the media is used as a battleground for crisis whenever there are crisis issues that require peace building. Rather than use the media to cement it, they use us to balkanize or even make it impossible. Does it pose a challenge? Are you working towards this? Do you see it as a problem?
Okay, well, thank you. Well, once again, the audio wasn't really clear, but somehow I got a few things from what you said. I don't seem to completely agree with you that the media in singular is complicit in these obvious attempts by some people who don't believe in the continued peaceful coexistence of Nigerians. Well, if you look at the reality on ground, the media, but for their roles, perhaps we would have long gone our separate ways. But for the role the media has been playing over time, the problem would have escalated beyond the level where it is. And that's the reality. Quite recently, there is this dangerous pandemic that has enveloped the rest of us, not just in Nigeria, and that is the pandemic of fake news. Obviously, some political actors have consistently hidden under this spread dissemination of fake news to cause disharmony, division in the system. Like I said from the beginning, the media is not complicit. We had behind the camera discussion before this program started with one of you here. And of course, he expressed his worries, which to some extent I shared his concerns about the level political actors seem to be turning the media, using the media to create gulf, to create crisis in the system. But I can tell you that as professionals, we remain committed to championing a cause that would promote peace, unity, harmony in the country. And that is the truth. If the media as presently constituted flow with the tide, flow with the information that is daily made available to us by different political groupings, political actors, political interest groups, and what have you, maybe by now the country would have caught fire. But we have said no to such trends, because no matter what we do, we have only but one country that we can call our own, and that's Nigeria. No matter the comfort you seem to enjoy when you travel outside, go to America, go to Europe, go to Asia, you would always go about with your passport. You can't drop it. But in Nigeria, that's where you move freely. So we are not going to make ourselves available as willing tools to be used by political actors to destroy this system. Rather than blame the media, we should blame politicians. Like the NGE president did say, oftentimes you see politicians with one idea or the other, they try to cause disaffection. But for us in the media, I must tell you that we remain committed to enthroning peace and unity. And that's why from the outset, we declared our position clearly to support the government in stamping out the incidents of fake news, the prevalence of fake news from our system. And we have always done that clearly, because we understand the terrifying impact of this pandemic in our national life. Most of the communal crisis you talk about, religious crisis we witness today, intra-ethnic crisis, most of them are as a result of paucity of information, and in some cases, fake news. And that's why, as professionals have always said it, no journalist that is worth its onion would encourage the dissemination of fake news. So I can tell you clearly that we are not instruments, we are not tools in the hands of politicians. Yes, we operate liberal democracy and, of course, free speech, freedom of expression, and what have you. But I must make it very clear that there is nobody that believes in this country, that would continue to indulge in acts that would culminate in pacificating Nigeria. We don't do that. And any politician or political actor that we discover that is tilted towards that direction, of course, I can assure you that as media professionals who have paid the supreme price at different times, Prof took time to go through the historical, go down memory lane about this country. We have paid the price, and we are not going to align with people who don't wish this country well. So I can tell you, we are not instruments, we are not tools in the hands of political actors, and we will not encourage them in any way possible.
Thank you. I hear the signal from Ibadan via Zoom, where former Minister of Communication joined us. Adebayo Ashitu is up now. Let's get back to him so that we get the latest in terms of so far what has been done, because the epicenter of the latest is Shasha in Oyo State. So, from what I asked, what's the update? Well, it's quite a challenge there. Well, back, General Aduma, you have heard the opening thoughts. Yes. And from the perspective of the NGO president, most often when you talk about during times like this, the media is critical, you are able to open up. But the other aspect of it is money and conscience. Most often, he has consistently emphasized political actors, and most often Nigerians maybe they are not privileged to know the consequences. You offer them money, they go haywire.
Well, he raised some of the traditional issues that question the media. Politicians, yes, they can influence the media, but the media themselves in this global world that we're in, they operate not in a vacuum. They operate with the influences other than those of our politicians, of their owners, their proprietors, their patrons, and the objectives for which they have been set the trajectory of what influences their communication, their thought, their objectives. So the media cannot be said that they are independent or solely neutral in their reportage. Certainly we have seen some preference in the reporting of various incidents. So, and of course, as a result, there are borderline partial reporting. And there are those that are tainted or manipulated in order to create a kind of atmosphere which can create division and unity, or can encourage the search for amity. But in many cases, the facts are put out there, but they are not always dressed as facts and evidence. They are sometimes camouflaged and twisted in order to deflect the true import of the incident.
But the fact he raises that media thrives on ethics, and he has insisted that any journalist worth his salt would not allow himself to be used. And the question I ask is, most often besides media, money plays a crucial role in a move by some person to balkanize the country. So what message will you have for Nigerians who are vulnerable to collecting money to cause mayhem?
Yes, it is money. It is the capital one invests in the media, and one who invests in it wants something out of it. So you either invest in the media as a politician or as an investor, and therefore you have capital interest and some benefits that should accrue, or that you leave the journalists to act according to their conscience But they are not free, just as the politicians are not free. They have to succumb to the directions of their party, to the objectives of their party. And they have internal bias as regards how to interpret an event. Similarly, journalists use the language of reportage to create impressions that favors their perspective of an event. There are many examples. They are not in the business of media mainly to propagate news or as fact. The interpretation of it or the influencing of the perception has some objectives which are often not clear, but come in the process of the developing events.
Okay, let's go to Ms. Nasa. Ms. Nasa, before I go to Enugu, what's your perspective regarding money and being the agent of creating violence in the country?
No nation develops higher than the efficacy of the professionalism of its media. The Constitution, precisely Section 22, talks about the role of the media. The role of the media as a veritable tool in nation building. As a matter of fact, that is the reason why it is called the fourth estate of the realm. Any nation that did not accord the disposition of nationalism and statesmanship to the media industry is doomed. The media is the pivotal of any development of any nation. When you look at the Constitution, for example, sections 38, 39 up to 40, telling it with, even starting from sections 33, 34, 35, down to 45, all those provisions of the fundamental rights, the right to speech, the right to freedom of expression, the right to freedom of movement, whatever, the foundational basis upon which those rights can be benefited by the citizenry is the media. The media is the midwife in between the government and the governed. It is the media that will be able to exhume and ventilate the interests and aspirations of the citizenry and communicate some to the government. And the media is the one to set agenda for the government, either agenda for development or agenda for violence. In Nigeria, so far so good. Right from pre-colonial days, the media has been at the forefront of the entrenchment of the supremacy of national unity over and above any other petty primordial sentiments. The media has been performing professionally. The government has institutions. The National Broadcasting Commission is there. The Federal Ministry of Information and Culture is there. The Ministry of Communication is there. All these institutions are supposed to serve as the regulatory bodies upon which they will set the media on the correct pedestal. So the blame should not so much be on the media. Supposing the media is going off the track, for example, what about the ability of the government to inflict penalties? What about the ability of the government to inflict sanctions? In a situation whereby the government allows everybody to do whatever he wants without checkmating him, without sanctions, without appropriate penalty, and without commensurate appraisal of the good things the media is doing. Not only the media, every person that is doing the good thing, the government should think of appreciating that. In those days, when you are in the media or when you are a politician, the quantum of the national service you will do will be predicated upon the degree of your own good relationship with the media. And it is the media that will be able to bring out those personalities, those individuals that are adjudged, quote and unquote, elder statesmen. Where everybody would like to be a statesman, there should be reward for good thing as well as there should be penalty for bad thing. things. And nowadays, in the contemporary days, you hardly get issue of reward. Even the ordinary, national honors for somebody that is doing good for the country, whether he is in the media circle, in the military circle, in the political circle, in the economic circle, you don't hear of those things. The government should really be up and doing and make the regulatory agencies. The National Orientation Agency is there. Nigeria is fundamentally built on ethics as per Section 21 of the Constitution. And the Constitution has provided as per Section 23, the ethics, and Section 24, the fundamental duties on the citizenry. Those things the citizens should do. And it is the media that will be bringing out those things through the instrumentality of its own establishment. And at the same time, it is the responsibility of the media to be bringing out to government. For example, under Section 15 subsection 2, under Section 15 subsection 3 and 4, it is the onerous responsibility on the government to encourage national integration. It is the responsibility of the government to encourage national inclusiveness in the way it governs the people. It is the responsibility of the media to bring out those things that the government is not doing, the torchlight of which will be the search for navigation of the roads for the nationhood towards development, towards peace, towards harmony, towards cohesion. So the media, as far as I'm concerned, my appraisal for the media is very, very good. The governmental media is doing excellently well. The private media too, we should appreciate their disposition of patriotism, because for people to come and be investing in order for Nigeria to have a balanced reportage. The reportage, in other words, from the angle of the government media and from the angle of the private citizens media, is a very good and welcome development. Every nation in the world, when you go, it is the refusal to imbibe the doctrine of media independence that brings about distortion of news, that brings about many things. Incidents like the case of Somalia, Rwanda, the case of Sudan, the case of Bosnia-Herzegovina, the case of Ottoman Empire that is even completely wiped away. It is because of the neglect of checkmating that the media is doing. If we remember, for example, even the First World War, it was caused as a result of the assassination of Archduke Fernando at Sarajevo that caused about that one, the retaliation, the distortion of facts, and the rest. And at the same time, that led up to even the Second World War, the propaganda propagated by the media, especially the one in Germany, that all the sanctions of the League of Nations are against Germany. So essentially speaking, what I'm saying is that no nation can succeed without the cooperation and the support of the media. The media is the pivotal upon which you will be able to get the input and output methodology of corrective governance in any nation.
Yeah, the signal from Ibadan is true now. Can we go to Abuja for updates of developments there? Well, let's go to Enugu, where Naji, if you can hear me clearly, we have hinged on the media, the pros and the cons. Let's look at the people. Besides the fact that the elites play a role, the people are vulnerable, and I keep asking this, maybe you will address it in proper perspective. Money and vulnerability towards disharmony in Nigeria, the role of money. The role of money.
It's very pertinent to note that money has influenced most of the attitudes of people over the years. But is that the right direction? The answer is no. Now, let us try to understand what money has done that has eventually put the country into this abysmal low. Now, during elections and after the elections and during all forms of canvassing, which the country normally passes through, we see that money plays a role. The reason is that a lot of people are either ignorant or they are willfully committing this very offense. But if they are ignorant, I think I also have to, ask the media to up their game, because most times people are ignorant because they don't have access to, reading materials, or they don't have the right information to, rely on when it comes to pointing themselves to the right information. Now, it is important that media should be very up and doing in this regard, because we have these official media, the organized ones and the unorganized ones. Talking about the social media, where we have this infodemic, which has, of course, has caused a lot of problems in the society. So we need to dissociate these two types of media. Because when we are relying on information from the organized media, it should be well articulated to enforce and to enlighten the public and the people about the right things to do and at the right time. Of course, it is not written, but it's an unwritten fact that the media constitutes part of governance, because the media is inexorably linked to good governance. If a particular government structure is not doing well, it is the media that will expose the inabilities of these very governments. So we encourage media to bring out these facts when it comes to bribing and any form of monetary gratification that will influence people to do the negative things, that people should eschew and abhor such ineffective ways of living in a country. Because if you collect money to do something that is awful, eventually the whole thing will come back to haunt the same person who has committed or perpetrated this very ill. So I believe that Nigerians should be very much aware that money and the factors relating to money are not consistent with good governance and good full ownership. Because when you have good governance, of course, it goes without saying that you have a full ownership. Now again, Nigerians have been able to define these media forms of dissemination of information in terms of the organized and the unorganized media, because a lot of Nigerians now can see it, especially with the regular internet subscription, sit in the comfort of their homes and dish out information. So, but people should be able to articulate these facts and to know whether these facts are actually right or they are misleading, because these things are garbage in, garbage out. So when people cannot substantiate the origins of news, they should eventually jettison, because in the end, people will become the flosam and jessam of fake news. So I believe that Nigeria has come a long way when it comes to publicity and dissemination of information, because the Nigerian Television Authority has existed long before anyone thought of having television in Africa. So it's a good kudos to Nigerian government and the antecedents. Now, but of course, we should use some of these things as avenues of enriching our culture, and then of course enforcing and solidifying our base to get the facts around the governance of the people by eschewing this gratification in terms of money, so that people do things in a principled and more organized manner.
Thank you so much. Let's now go to Ibadan. Up now. Ask you differently, if you can hear me, Chief Adeba Shitu. We know you are the center, but quickly we are progressing already. What would you say is the role of the social media in all this?
Thank you. Thank you. Fortunately, we have a social media in Nigeria which is very active and which is accessible to all kinds and manners of people. Gone are the days when journalists had to be trained before they were recognized and before they could practice as journalists. Today, unfortunately, because of the preponderance of the social media, virtually everybody has become a journalist, and a lot of people who are ill-informed about situations get a lot of inputs into the social media, most of which do not have any basis in facts. So the situation of our social media in Nigeria has become, very dangerous for the maintenance of law and order in Nigeria, because a lot of tendacious information are always put up on social media without verification, and because a lot of people believe things so easily, there is a tendency for most people to react negatively to false information. That, of course, have negative impact on the sustenance of law and order in society. I recall that the government at the time wanted to pass a law through the National Assembly to regulate social media. Unfortunately, most people, particularly journalists, were the first to attack the effort of government. But now we can see the very negative and very dangerous impact that unregulated social media has had towards, the preponderance of insecurity in our country. If you take, for instance, what happened in Shasha, the initial action occurred on a Friday where one person was said to have been slapped and he died. And before you know it, all kinds of old photographs and pictures were thrown into the social media to whip up sentiment, and a lot of people took this hook, line, and sinker and started reacting. At the end of the day, more than 25 people were killed in Shasha over a very needless crisis. So I want to believe that government cannot afford to abandon its responsibility towards ensuring national security by shying away from making effort to regulate, the social media, such that those who put up falsehood, which is capable of, bringing about insecurity in the country or in the society, must be held responsible for the consequences of their indiscretions. So I am, appealing very strongly that government cannot afford to shy away from its initial effort to bring about regulation to social media. The other thing I think government has to do is to also be preemptive. I know that there's nothing negative which would have happened in Nigeria without the State Security Service having full knowledge of it. When these pieces of information are passed to government, government must have the political will to act, immediately to, the security intelligence that they have. In situations where government dilly-dallies after the receipt of intelligence which is reliable from the security forces, the consequence of it would be, the type of hulabaloo that we had in Shasha. So in a way, I think government must also be held responsible for not doing enough, in reacting to intelligence which points to breakdown of law and order. Thank you.
Well, once again, we're taking a good look at peace and national integration. We'll take a break. When we come back from the break, we'll take some reports and sustain the conversation afterwards. Stay with us.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Development Agency of Nigeria is here to help you succeed. Medan gives you entrepreneurship training that will make your business grow big. It can create access to finance. Medan can help you prepare a good feasibility study and link you up with the finance institutions that will fund your business. It can also create access to market through local and international trade fairs, opportunity fairs, and exhibitions. Medan also organizes programs to identify innovative entrepreneurs and promote their business ideas. Contact us at Plot 35, Port Harcourt Crescent, Area 11, Garaki, Abuja, or visit our website www.smedan.gov.ng.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying tuned, and we'll take a couple of reports, then we go to Lagos, where we are being joined via Zoom by the President of Nigerian Guild of Legislators. And we're beginning with Ibadan. Nigerians have been urged to tolerate one another and maintain the unity in diversity in order to promote a peaceful environment for development. That is the consensus opinion from the report from Ibadan.
In recent times, there have been suspicious behavioral patterns among different ethnic groups, leading to unwarranted utterances. On some other occasions, there have been destructive tendencies, which continue to make many wonder where the issue of unity in diversity in the country is being placed. Some observers said this act is dangerous to the socioeconomic well-being of the nation.
Government needs to take urgent action now in mopping weapons from among the civil populace. There are so many, guns now around that, people can do anything, terrorizing other people. So the government should take urgent actions. But above all, our people should continue to live in love. They should show love to their neighbors. They should show love to their other ethnic groups, because we are all human beings.
The essence of governance is to provide adequate security for its people. Government at different levels must wake up. Security must be taken as priority. We've not done anything.
If we want religion to continue to be relevant amidst us, we need to be scripture compliant. No religion teaches evil. And evil, keeping of good neighborliness, is the bedrock of religious worship.
Governor of Kebbi State, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, also have this to say on the development.
We are pleased that we saw Nigerians of all tribes in the market conducting their activity, which is evidence of return of normalcy. In fact, we saw onion sellers from different states, including Kebbi, Zamfara, and Sokoto, and Nigerians of other states.
There is no doubt that Nigerian tribes had in unity in diversity.
Our next report is coming from Jos, where the major stakeholders are strategizing on ways of improving on the present security situation and emphasizing emphasizing ethnic and religious differences.
Plateau State has had a fair share of the weight of insecurity, with incessant destruction of lives and property. For this reason, key players are re-strategizing on measures to forestall reoccurrence and promotion of values encapsulated in the state's slogan, Home of Peace and Tourism. From ethno-religious crises to herders-farmers clashes and then to insurgency banditry, the ugly faces have robbed the society of peace.
This country needs healing. This country needs unity. And if our model, from what we have seen, is anything to go by, I personally would even plead with Mr. President to consider setting up a National Peace Commission that will work closely with this kind of state institutional arrangements for conflict prevention and peace building, saddle them with the responsibility of working with ordinary communities at the grassroots levels to be able to do extraordinary things for peace.
We must learn to live together. God created this country not for only Christians, nor for Muslims alone, not for the Northerners or the Southerners alone, but that we must tolerate each other. We must learn to live in peace with one another.
Unity means tolerance. Unity means accommodating.
Stakeholders say initiatives at ensuring lasting peace is the way forward.
Where tackling insecurity, equitable distribution of national resources, standardization and reorientation are some of the measures identified by respondents in Onitsha.
For some time now, insecurity and other social vices have been a major challenge threatening the peace and unity of the nation. In spite of efforts by governments to address the menace, stakeholders in Onitsha, who applauded the various initiatives of government, called for more proactive measures from leaders at all levels.
In fact, everybody has a role to play for us to achieve total unity. We must eschew any sense of discrimination. We must eschew ethnicity. We must do away with religion, actually.
A generalization is too much. So I need the equity and the fairness.
Security is number one, because any place that security is not there, many things are involved. It will bring hunger. It will bring disunity.
They express hope that Nigeria is on the path of progress if the youths are properly channeled to stem cases of unrest in parts of the country.
With Onitsha Report, we begin this segment with us going to Lagos, where the president of Nigerian Guild of Editors, Issa, has been waiting. Issa, well, the network has been a bit difficult, but quickly, listening to Kebbi State Governor reacting in Ibadan, he talked about the fact that Nigeria should look beyond tribes. So what do you make of this mentality of indigenship all of the times? Well, let me parry that to you, General Haruna. The issue of indigenship. You heard the Kebbi State Governor reacting there, saying that they went to the market and they found people from all tribes in the market. Yet, one of the planks where people hinge on to use to balkanize or attempt to balkanize the country is the issue of indigenship. Where do you come from?
Yes, well, I will answer that by flanking. 3 highlights of issues I want to raise in connection with that. The first is to do with the elite disharmony, which you mentioned earlier. I think so long as our elites are kleptocratic and recycle those values from what is generally called corruption, so long with society and the generality of the people will be very skeptical about our peace and unity, because those who are at the helm of affairs are going about it with the wrong values. And those kleptocratic values taken from public purse are recycled and create the values from which you create the generation of successors. And that cannot make for peace, because the elites have gathered everything for themselves and redistributed to only those who are of their kind. So those who are poor, who are downtrodden, who have no access to education or the good things of life, will continue to be downtrodden, and it does not make for harmony or peace. The second issue I want to highlight is to do with the free distribution or holding, which has been mentioned earlier, that there must be control, there must be proper license, there must be control of importation of arms, the licensing of those who are authorized to have arms, and the control of its use. I think we have lacked that, to the extent that they say that migrant Fulanis are carrying AK-40, the AK rifles freely. So I think that I agree with the contribution earlier that there must be mopping up of small arms. Okay. I wouldn't agree that, as suggested by our Governor Autumn, I think wants everyone to carry arms, to be licensed to carry arms. I don't think that is a solution. It will lead us more to the combative attitude which we already have, and the hate the hate motives in our communication or in dressing up evolving situations. Okay. Then thirdly, I think that with our Constitution, together with the Land Use Act, which has placed land in trust with all the governors and the Federal Capital Treaty Minister, I think they have not been up and doing with their committees that should demarcate, allocate the use of land, whether as a forest or for grazing, open grazing, or for the new system that is being talked about. I think that governments has totally failed in this issue of land management and land use, and yet it is in the Constitution. If, for example, the Ondo incident and territory had been up and doing with respect to land allocation and land use, you will not get this kind of satellite settlements completely in defiance of the laws. Because right from the onset, policing the land use would make sure that nobody abuses the instant land use of the area. And this is clearly in our Constitution, by virtue of the Land Use Act, a role for the governors and the minister. And I think they must seriously look at that, because it has led to this conflict, which has threatened the general security and the unity of this country. The laws are there, but those who are managing the country should invoke the law when it is appropriate, and also manage the properties of the state in accordance with the law.
Okay. President NUJ, back to you. You've been silent in a while, and looking at what General Haruna just said, national goals are most times driven by institutions, but at times part of the problem has been tied to the fact that individuals tend to almost drive national goals. So what role will it be like if institutions are strengthened and they are driven appropriately? Will it work?
Okay. Well, before I go to the direct message or question you've raised, I want to quickly respond to what the former Minister of Communications, Adebayo Shitu, said earlier while he was making his own contribution from Ibadan. Well, he talked about the journalists rising against attempts by government to regulate the social media. Well, however, he came from a different perspective. I must say that indeed the Nigerian Union of Journalists and of course the Guild of Editors and other media organizations, we indeed came together against the social media bill, and I think there is another bill, two of them, that came up at the National Assembly, the Senate to be precise. We felt that those bills were really constituted needless proliferation, because we have existing laws. We have the Criminal Code, we have the Penal Code, we have the Cybercrime Act of 2015. And if you go through these existing laws, you will see that the contents, the principles of the bills that were championed by two senators at the National Assembly, we are merely repeating the same things that these other existing laws already have. And we felt that we didn't need to dissipate energy, time, resources, continue to proliferate laws. All we needed to do is, if we have areas we felt that we needed to give the laws bites so that they will be more effective, we put them, we amend. That's why there is always that provision for review, for amendment, so that the laws will come to terms with the realities on ground. So that's why we stood against those bills. Another issue is, while you are making an attempt at regulating the social media, I also have severally said it, that you don't regulate the end users. For instance, you have bags of rice in the market. Your regulation starts from the point of taking the number of bags of rice to the market, and not to regulate somebody that has already bought several bags and taken to his house. So you cannot regulate the end user. If you want to regulate, interface with the owners of these platforms, the social media platforms. You have the Facebook, the Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, and the rest of them. So that by the time they post things that are not in conformity with promotion of unity, peace, harmony in your own system, they would always know how to handle that. That is the position the NUJ took then, and we still stand by that position today. Well, going straight to the issue you've raised about building institutions, it's always important that we build strong institutions in our system. Because when you build weak institutions and you have unwittingly created very strong individuals, the system will suffer, because they would they would descend on the weak institutions, and your guess is as good as mine. That's why if you look at some other, well, let me say developed climes, we saw what happened in the United States quite recently. If it were some other places, the entire country would have collapsed. But no matter what happened in the United States, we remember the January 6th Capitol attack and the rest of them, democracy still prevailed. Why? Because they've succeeded in building strong institutions. And these institutions are institutions that now drive governance. But a situation will still continue to totter, continue to operate very weak institutions. That's why when you talk about of course, looking at the Constitution, trying to review the system, trying to devolve power, trying to, it becomes very, very important, because the present scenario as presently obtains does not seem to be in tandem with the realities, with the yearnings and aspirations of the people. And by the time you continue to drive it down their throats that it must be that way, of course it will be difficult to achieve that peaceful coexistence. It will be difficult to achieve that harmony that you desire. Well, one of the contributors did say that it will be difficult to entrench peace without first ensuring there is justice. In the absence of justice, in the absence of equity, in the absence of fair play, fairness, in the absence of equitable distribution of common patrimony, there can hardly be peace. Once again, I want to applaud the security chiefs for initiating the process of this interface. That is a very good one. After all, democracy is about the people. If you alienate the people from the process of governance in a democracy, then democracy in itself has taken flight. That's why the people must be effectively integrated in the process of governance. You must know their feelings, you must know their yearnings, you must know their aspirations. That way, you would have started the process of building peace. So I still insist, time has come for us, both the government and the governed, to begin the process of building very strong institutions, because these institutions will help. It will on its own regulate the activities of operators of these institutions. If we continue to treat it with levity, if we continue to play the ostrich, then it means that we are not serious. We are not yet ready to drive that process which we earnestly desire.
The other problem happens to be the challenge of religion. Tolerance has remained a problem. We trump up religion all of the time. The Shasha example clearly speaks to that. What do you make of this?
Well, religion is not so much a problem, because Section 10 of the Constitution has already settled that matter, that there is no provision of state religion in the nation. And the most important thing is for those in the helm of authority to be able to be educated regarding the various provisions of the Constitution. If you take the provision of the Constitution, Sections 14, Section 15, Section 17, Section 20, 21, 23, 24, Section 34 down to 41, and if you take the provisions especially of Sections 214 to 218, and particularly Section 153, the totality of these sections talks about anything that is repugnant to national interest should not be tolerated in the governance of Nigeria. Specifically speaking, when you take Section 15, subsection 4, it says that loyalty for every citizen of the Federation, particularly those in authority, is to the nation, and any primordial consideration, whether ethnic, whether tribal, whether religious, should be jettisoned in favor of the national interest. And that is the reason why even when you take Section 14, subsection 3, it talks about the national interest of federal character. The national interest of federal character in the way will be governed. In fact, all these provisions I talk about, they are talking basically about one word: justice for the common benefit of all the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. There must be no consideration regarding either you put the issue of affinity, the issue of where place of belonging, the issue of your religion, the issue of tribal, the issue of whatever consideration. The interest of the nation should be uppermost, over and above any other decision. Bearing in mind that the oath of office for any Mr. Somebody is taken, whether it's His Excellency or His Distinguished or His Honorable, is that I would not in any way put my own interest over and above the interest of the generality of the Nigerians. His own interest should be the interest of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that is the reason why we need all the governmental functionaries in the nation to understand these provisions I have enunciated above. And above that, it is very, very important for government to have a system whereby there should be inspectorate and symbiotic relationship between the three tiers of the government as per provisions of sections 2-3 of the Constitution. You should have a policy whereby a machinery that should have uniformity of focus, uniformity of understanding, philosophy of the national interest over and above any other interest. For example, all this idea of state police, all this idea of regional policing, all this idea of whatever you talk about it, refer to section 153 and see the way the Constitution really talks about it in the interest of the nation. National defense policy is there, national police policy is there, national security policy is there. Bearing in mind, however, that in Nigeria, you have this system whereby you have tiers of the government. So whatever the federal government would like to evolve, it should be in conjunction with the other tiers of the government, so that the policies will be able to cascade down to the bottom of it. The office of the secretary to the federal government should be able to really take into pivotal as far as that assignment is concerned, because there is a difference between office of the secretary to the government of the federation and office of the secretary to the federal government. Secretary to federal government is only answerable to only federal government. But when you are secretary to the government of the federation, it means it is your responsibility to harmonize the operations of the federal government, the operations of the state government, the operations of the local government. All of them should have uniformity of policy formulations, uniformity of policy executions, uniformity of policy satisfaction, so that at the end of it, the ultimate of it, as per provision of section 14, is that the common man should be satisfied with the way he is being governed. Nigeria should try as much as possible, if we take the provision of section 214 to 216 that talks about the responsibility of the police to ensure internal security, we should try as much as possible to tally that one with sections 218 to 219 and the provisions of section 36 of the Constitution. In other words, there should be arrangements whereby there should be rapid response to be quelling down any iota of insecurity or any iota of national disintegration. And at the same time, the judicature, in other words, the side of the judiciary, should be up and doing in support of this. Sections 230 to 320 of the Constitution has given the judicature enormous power to be able to be inflicting penalties. If you now go about the provision of section 36 of section 5 that talks about the technicality of everybody to be adjudged as clean as until really adjudicated by a competent court or law, will not go anywhere. It is the application of these technicalities that is making people that are perceived to be criminals to be going for one lack of clear evidence to be able to criminalize them. Nigeria should really, the government should be up and doing in penalizing criminalities. Whenever there are these type of problems, these type of upheavals, the security agency should be able to quickly fish out those that are the perpetrators of it. No matter how strong you are, no matter how powerful you are, no matter from whichever side of the country you are, Nigeria should be able to penalize him for the wrongdoing, because if you allow it, it's just like a small fire. When you just scratch it a little, you will be able to really use your hand and then finish it. But when you allow it to reach gargantuan level, it will be very difficult for even Atlantic Ocean water to even quench it. We have seen instances like I have given earlier on of various countries that because of their failure to manage crises that they are at the minute level, it raised to the issue of civil war, it is to the issue of genocide, it is to the issue of even some countries like Ottoman Empire have given completely wiped out of the horizon of the world. So government should see itself as an article of responsibility, as a seat of responsibility of trust, on behalf of the entire 210 million Nigerians. No one single individual should suffer in Nigeria on account of one person hating him, on account of one person not liking his tribe or religion, because failure of us to really see copy from other countries. Look at the case of India, for example. India is a country whereby your neighbor will be able to come and congratulate you for you slaughtering what he normally worships. In other words, for you slaughtering a cow during your festivities. He will come and embrace you and congratulate you. India is more populated than Nigeria, having more number of tribes, having more number of religions, having more homogeneous complex societies in Nigeria. The same thing if you take the case of United States. So Nigerians should be able to be educated. The National Orientation Agency and the relevant governmental agency should be up and doing to educate the citizenry for them to understand that the ultimate reason for you to even be in existence is that you should come and be a vicegerent of God, representative of God, for you to transcend natural justice in between yourself and your relationship with your fellow human being, your relationship and that of animals, your relationship with God Almighty, and your relationship with the trees, with even your own organs in yourself. You have a question to answer before God at the end of it. So everybody should consider himself as a truth, but it should start from the leadership. A feast gets written from the head. Leadership by example is what we want to see. People should not put primordial interest over and above the national interest. Like I said, if you take the provision of Section 15, for example, Section 15 subsection 2, for example, has said that it is mandatory on the government to bring about policies that will bring about all inclusiveness. Every citizen should be free to go to any part of the country to do his business, to do his earn his living there. As a matter of fact, you cannot even do it. Every successful politician must have him, who wants to go as a president from either the southern part must have his own vice from the northern part. A successful businessman cannot do it alone, because you have to think of other places where the environment is good for you to do your investments, for at the end of it for you to make your gain. So the cosmopolitan nature Nigeria has, God has really made Nigeria in such a way that you cannot do without another. The experience of the Civil War is enough. We don't want a repetition of that. And if all those people did not succeed in balkanizing Nigeria, I don't think these people of today can be able to balkanize Nigeria. Nigeria must remain united, resolutely united. Government should encourage good conduct and be given awards and recognitions to people that are promoting national inclusiveness, national unity, national peace, so that at the end of it, politics, especially that we are in, should be seen as the matriculation vehicle for bringing about elder statesmen, for bringing about people that preach the gospel of unity and understanding, not for it to be just a an instrument for self-enrichment. And we must try as much as possible to lower down the quantum of money that is being sunk into politics of Nigeria. Politics should not be seen as an investment. It should be seen as a national service. If you make it as investment, then that is what will bring about the greed, and that is what will bring about people looking at it, say it's only the people from so part of the country that are benefiting from the cake. Take the example of United States. There are many number of their presidents came from one particular state. Why? Because they look at responsibilities for service as akin to service to God. They look at it as service to humanity, instead of Nigeria that is looking at politics as investment. We should really try as much as possible to lower down the lucrativeness of politics, to lower down the contractocratic type of politics we are doing, whereby you invest in order for you to reap benefits. We should try to look at it more as service to humanity, in the interest that at the end of it, when you are not alive, whosoever.
You heard from General Haruna, NTA President, and Nasara. One other problem that tends to threaten peace and national integration in Nigeria is a problem of self, lack of shared values. Yet we say we are great people, good nation. How do you react to this?
Thank you so much. It is important that we should understand where we started and how we got to this very point. In 1973, there was this scheme, the National Youth Service Corps, which still exists till today. The government of Yakubu Gowon thought it wise that Nigerians should be properly integrated so that they will know that where they came from does not really matter, but what matters is that they are one indivisible and indissoluble entity. Now, it is important that Nigerians should go back to the yardstick of that entity called Nigeria, where we see ourselves as one. Like I said before in my opening salvo, Nigerians appreciate themselves more when they meet outside the shores of this country. For example, Nigerians meeting themselves in US. If you're from Yoruba or from Igbo or from Hausa, you don't see the person as different. You see the person as your brother. In fact, that's the person you call your brother because he's the same country, he speaks the same language, the pidgin that we speak in Nigeria, and we eat the same type of food. So I think that we should try to internalize what we do outside the country in this country so that we will eventually see ourselves as one. For example, most Nigerians have lived outside their different areas of existence or where they were born. For example, somebody who was born in the East has stayed in the North and he speaks Hausa, and somebody born in the North has lived in the East and he speaks Igbo. So that level of unification should exist. Because I don't think what makes you different from the other person is because of where you were born. It is because you do the same thing the same way this other person does it. That is why we call ourselves brothers and sisters. So I believe that religion or ethnicity should not divide us, but we should share the values that eventually unite us, because according to the principle of holism, the whole is greater than some of its parts. There's no way we'll balkanize and eventually disintegrate this country and we'll get the same thing we have gotten, assuming we're one indivisible entity. So I still ascribe this very responsibility to every Nigerian. It is also the responsibility of government, as we know, but security and oneness of purpose, or that factor called unity, should be everybody's business. So if you see it as your own business, so you should be able to work in tandem with the government's prescription of unity. That means if you see someone doing something that is different, that is not typical of a Nigerian, which is antithetical to common unification process, you should be able to object. So I believe that Nigerians have this very attribute of always revolting when they see something that is evil. Nigerians are very resilient people, I said before, and they have the ability of internalizing and making everything to look comic. Like I always watch most of the Nigerian publications on social media, and I see that when things decide to be very hard for Nigerians, they change it to comedy, and eventually Nigerians are good at that. So if we can internalize these problems and see these problems as everybody's problem, then that means everybody can bring a solution that can be proffered to solve this problem. That means nobody should take stand aloof or take a bystander's approach to it, because every onlooker is either a coward or a traitor comes to Franz Fanon. So I believe Nigerians should come together as one indivisible entity to solve this problem, because there's nobody that can love Nigeria more than Nigerians themselves, despite what embers of discord that we hear, or the people who are fanning the embers of discord. So we do not think that that can help us. Instead, we should see where we can gain from this unity in diversity, because I believe that Nigerians have all it takes to become a very great nation. And if we can put these things in our own rostrum and then eventually try to replicate some of these advantages, we'll be able to propagate light and not darkness. Then again, it is important that our children should be taught how we all started and how we got to this very situation. Because if you have your own child that grows under your own roof, and you tell the person, for example, you are an Easterner, you tell the person, somebody from North is your brother or your sister, he will grow with that mentality. I remember in 1991, when Abuja became the nascent capital of Nigeria, I traveled to the North, and I stayed in the house of a Northerner. I didn't know him before, from Adam, and I stayed in his house, gave me food, gave me water to take my bath the next morning. I mean, that is brotherliness and brotherhood. So I believe that kind of fraternity should exist. We should try to replicate it over time, and people should begin to see it. My own father is still alive. He had many friends from the North. He speaks very fluent Hausa, and I believe that this is one unifying factor. I've met so many Northerners who speak Igbo, and the same way with Yoruba. So we believe in these things, and they work. I'm not saying that we do not have differences. That is not what I'm saying. But all I'm saying that there are more things that unite us than divide us. All we need to do is to find common ground to solve this problem, because we cannot go back where we started. I remember this war of 1970. It was an ill wind that blew nobody no good. So we shouldn't go back to the same thing that brought us this very low. So, I mean, we should internalize and eventually propagate these things to the children that are unborn children who eventually come to, embrace this very fact. Then again, it is important that people should know that they should never be allowed to allow their conscience to be mortgaged or kowtow to any monetary gratification that will make you to move away from your own place of abode to think that you should go and replicate crime or banditry elsewhere. No, that is not acceptable. It is not in consonance with our norms. So I believe that Nigerians should see that we are living as our own brother's keeper, and we should be able to see what is wrong with another person and try to offer a helping hand. So it is our own nation. Nobody can do it for us except we decide collectively from everybody from all walks of life to come together and help to lift this country beyond where it is. I know that Nigerians have excelled outside this country. I've lived in the United States for many years, in Europe for many years. I've taught there as a professor, and I know that most Nigerians, when they come there, they excel. You see, the situation in Nigeria is because we cannot come back with the same concept we have seen overseas to come and put them in a structure to help to lift our own structure above where it is today. If we can bring what we have learned or what we have practiced elsewhere, for example, let me try to bring something back home now. Nigerians go outside, they drive cars, and they see green light, they respect green light, they pass. They see red light, they stop. But here in Nigeria, most times, they see red light, they cross, and they pass. And because nobody can give them tickets, if the ticket comes to your house, some of these things, these are small traffic infractions, which should not, happen, because one thing can lead to the other. If somebody crosses a red light anywhere in US or Europe, of course, that is a very serious, offense, traffic offense. But here in Nigeria, most times you see people trying to claim right, thinking that they are above the law. I mean, nobody's above the law. The law is there. It's invisible, but it is very, very forceful and effective. So all I know that people can do it better in Nigeria if they try to internalize what we have learned outside. Then again, finally, what we should also understand is that nobody knows it all. No country is an Eldorado. If we think we can feature what happens in the United States here, Nigerian situation is different, far different from what happens in the United States. Like somebody made an allusion to what happened on January 6th. There was an attack on the Capitol. Of course, that eventually resulted in more entrenched democracy. Of course, we should know that democracy is is a collective game. The word democracy comes from two Greek words, the demos and kratos. Demos meaning the people and kratos meaning rule. That means the people's rule. So that means it is not only the government, but you, the populace. The populace also constitute those who can rule, because if you see what is wrong, you point it out. For example, the fourth estate or the press will also have to put things in perspective. Where government has erred, you say this is what is wrong. You should not allow any monetary gratification to dissuade you from doing your constitutionally informed responsibility of doing your job the right way. So I believe that we can do these things very well if we try to toe the line of those who have already founded this very country from inception.
Jehu Onyekwere Naji, Professor of International Law and Global Politics. It was nice having you on Tuesday Live tonight. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time. Adebayo Shitu, I just hope the signals are still up. If it's there, and can we be sure if the signal is there, please, from Ibadan via Zoom? Do we still have the signal? Are we up with Ibadan? What about Lagos? Is Lagos still up? Is Lagos still up? Okay, it looks those two signals have dropped, and I believe if they would have told them, thank you so much for being on the program. Back to General IBM Haruna. Dominance also threatens the peace and national integration of Nigeria. The 16th anniversary of the country talks about together forever. But some tribes or some ethnic groups appear to be more dominant than the other, and they play it. This makes a problem.
Yes, indeed, it is a problem. And
how can we solve it?
Well, first of all, it is exacerbated by the body language and utterances of our leaders. And the leaders create a psyche that creates the generality of the people to see themselves as first-class or second-class citizens, or indigenous, settlers, and what have you. This class discrimination amongst the people created by by the fact that we are diversified, but is the psyche created out of it by the leaders for political reasons or divide and rule tactics. I think that citizens should be viewed and treated in circumstances as equal citizens. They are equal as to their rights, equal as to their privileges in the class to which they are either professionals or engagements. And I think that the application of the law should be to citizens on equal basis. No one, as rightly mentioned earlier, should be above the law. And I think that they say when you go to Rome in those days, you behave like the Romans. But one cannot say if you come to Nigeria, you should behave like Nigerians of today, in the sense that Nigerians have not been given the opportunity to catch up with modern civilization, with the result that without water, without medical services adequate for the people, you cannot expect even Nigerians who come from England or from America to go to places, whether it is a marketplace or is a petrol station, and have easy, hygienic environment to ease themselves. So I think that the leaders must pursue a program that will uplift the sanity of the people, their discipline, their codes and their behaviors. I think most Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, sometimes when you see them behave side by side with other people or citizens of other claims, I regret to say that those of us who have had the opportunity to have some training abroad and so on, you feel you are taken aback and feel very shameful. Well, looking some years back, I know what we had to go through in waging war against indiscipline. As a result, the culture of queuing, the culture of taking turns, but it's still there in many respects. That shows that the leadership have not grown this instinct of self-respect, self-restraint, because they create anxieties, they create lack of trust or confidence. Look at the change of registration of NIN. You can see the sorrow state of people who leave their homes 4 a.m., abandon their work, and in spite of COVID, they are anxious to get the registration, but no clear arrangement is there. And it is a pity.
Okay.
So I think we should try to level the class divide and treat citizens as equal citizens.
Okay. At this time, let me go to NUJ President, Chris Ezeguzo, to tell him thank you so much for being part of the program tonight. It was nice having your time and sharing your thoughts with Nigerians on Tuesday Live. Thank you so much, President, for being on Tuesday Live.
Thank you for having me. The fact still remains that we remain firm believers in the unity and the continued existence of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I want to appeal to the political actors, the political class, You know, if you destroy the country, you are not going to have any country that you're going to lead, either as a legislator or as operator of the executive arm of government. Now, if you lose today, you wait tomorrow, you might be lucky. Let's not continue by our utterances, by our words, by our actions and inactions, continue to destroy the country just because it didn't favor us today. Let us continue to build that country of our dream. And for those who think the media is a platform to be used to continue to unleash division in the system, you've got to think again, because for us, we operate within the code of ethics of this profession, and the union will not hesitate in sanctioning any member found wanting in the course of discharging his duties as a professionals. We are professionals.
Thank you so much, President. And quickly to Nasara Gogo, thank you so much for being on Tuesday Live. We'll have you some other time. And
thank you very much. What I want to just say as a final is that it is all the problems we are having in the country.
Shitu, former Minister of Communications, we had a lot of challenge having him via Zoom from Ibadan, and also the president of Nigerian Guild of Editors who joined us via Zoom in Lagos. We also had challenges having him smooth with us all through the program. Every person, thank you so much. On behalf of the NTA, always remember to support the NTA in the fight against rape, to be a star. Bye-bye.